Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
In our continuing education of what Obamacare is and what it will not provide, we have more of the indicators that your employer has changed to Obama's health care plan. The only item listed under preventative care coverage is an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Your primary care physician is wearing the pants you gave to Goodwill last month, and the only expense covered by 100% is embalming. Good morning, everybody. Here's Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning on a beautiful, absolutely phenomenal Tuesday morning. This is great outside, August morning, August the 6th, and Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services. Start on the route service, get rid of your garbage, call 734-6969. And now, the beautiful, absolutely wonderful, soft-spoken, here's Gina.
Soft-spoken.
Yeah.
You know me too well.
I do. How you doing?
Doing well. It's Tuesday. Thank God yesterday's done and over with.
Oh, Monday was a bad day for me yesterday.
I think honestly, Monday was just a bad day all the way around for everybody.
I finally, in disgust, went out and sat in my Cabela's lawn chair, the one that folds in 37 different directions, and it's got a set of brakes on the handlebars on both sides so you don't completely tip over. And I just said, world, just go on by and leave me alone. And I slept for about an hour yesterday afternoon.
Did you take a nap?
I took a nappy poo, and the bugs were in my nose and in my mouth, and Deanne said I was snoring, and I scared the hummingbirds, and it was a bad deal.
Deanne, if you're listening next time, take a video of that so I can post it.
She said that the hummingbirds, honestly, I got to tell you this real quick. We've got hummingbirds that are not afraid of us at all, and they will come and hover right about 6 or 7 inches in front of your face and look at you like, human, what are you doing? And then they'll kind of give you a disdainful look, and then they'll go get some of that stuff Deanne put out, that sugary syrup for them, and then they'll come back and look at us again and then fly off. They do that about 100 times a day.
Well, they go through a lot of energy, so they need that sugar water.
Yeah, but they have this kind of a little kind of a disdainful look on their face, like we're better than you are.
Yeah, and they're looking at you while you're sleeping, and like, I wonder if I could poke him.
Yeah, they're amazing birds. I mean, of all the birds that we have in the world that God created, the hummingbird is absolutely fantastic. I've got to go. Who's going to do the pledge?
Let's see, Michael Tag is it for the pledge and for the wedding.
Oh, okay, Michael, do the pledge, please, and then I'll do a quick commercial. Go, please.
Morning, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My buddy Michael Rogers, the best. And right now, speaking of the best weatherman in the business, that leads us up to Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. They've got everything over there, and they know that you're still planting out there and you're still putting out shrubs, and you're time to fertilize your lawn with all the heat and everything. If it's not looking green, you better water it and fertilize it. And they've got all the pots over there, you know, those decorative pots, everything for you at Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly, 423-6800. And now, here's Michael with the weather.
On a day where it's a good day to be Michael Rogers, thank you very much. It's going to be sunny, 93 for a high, 59 for the overnight low. The dog days of summer continue all the way through the weekend, so just basically enjoy that weather. It's the only weather you got.
Michael, quick answer here. I need to get you on the air this next week if you're going to be around. I would like to do a segment with you right here in the studio. If possible, give me a call.
Really? You want me to go on the air? I've never done radio before, Zeb.
Yeah, come on, Michael, please. You've been here, done that, been there.
No problem.
All right.
I'll give you a buzz.
Thanks, buddy. All right, MichaelRogersWeather.com. We got a lot of things cooking today, and we've got some great guests. We're going to be talking to Kathleen Dietrich, the fair manager over at the Jerome County Fair. And then we've had a change in the schedule this morning. We're going to have Joe Wolverton from Utah. He's going to be dropping by and spending about an hour with us on the air, and he's written a lot of great articles about the United States and possible gun control issues. And so we're looking forward to having him on the air. And then a change. We're going to have Dr. History on at about 10:35 this morning, so some small changes in our schedule just for this morning only. Don't forget, Shane Class and the rest of the people over at SafeLink Internet have told me, they sent me all the information. They've got a brand new, all-new SafeLink Internet. No contracts required, no credit checks, new high-speed Internet packages with no data limits, new high-speed Internet packages available up to 15 megabytes, I think that is. Help me, I'm computer illiterate. And free professional installation. It's all there for you. You'll save up to $30 a month. Check it out. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. 677-8000. The best. We're on it. SafeLink Internet. And our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, God bless you, man. These are wonderful people, Kevin and Cindy and the rest of them. I'm telling you, you take your Rumply Crumplies in there and you load them on the counter and they count and see how many shirts and how many Wranglers and everything else. And then you go in there and you're absolutely astounded. They look brand spanking new. Oh, they look good. You'll look good. Daryl's Cleaners. Stop in and see them today, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really nice people. Okay, folks, your calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Major League Baseball, I want to talk a little bit about this. I know some of you couldn't care less about baseball. I'm a baseball nut, always have been. Played the game for many, many years before my legs went out at the door. And but Major League Baseball has got a lot of problems right now with the PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, and led by many baseball players right now that are on kind of a swan song as far as suspensions are concerned, and Alex Rodriguez, known as A-Rod, at the top of the list. And this is pathetic. Fay Vincent, former commissioner for Major League Baseball, said it the best yesterday. One time, you're caught, you're done, out. Never put a uniform on in the big leagues again. You are out of there. That's the way it should be. If they're going to clean up something, I don't care if it's a drug problem in baseball, I don't care if it's a drug problem in football, basketball, whatever, even swimming for the Olympics. One problem, one time you're caught, you're done. And that is going to eliminate a lot of the problem of what's happening in our society and also transferring down to our kids. Now, this suspension that Alex Rodriguez is probably facing of 211 games. Now, he's appealing it. And I honestly think the appeals are just going to be nothing more than hot air. But 211 games, if you figure at his age now, 38, Alex Rodriguez, I believe, is history. And I also believe will never, ever, because when you hit 40, come on, you're not going to be an all-star shortstop or all-star third baseman. You're not going to hit the home runs. You're not going to have the hand-eye coordination that you did. And 211 games of doing nothing, not going to come back. This is the swan song for what could have been one of the greatest baseball careers ever, but he destroyed it himself. It wasn't a mistake, and he keeps using that word. It was a choice. And I'm sick and tired of these prima donnas saying, I made a mistake, and this, that, and the other. No, it was a choice, and you did it to yourself. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric. I talked to Keith earlier this morning. He's up and about early. And they throw open the doors at 7:30, and they all have a group hug over there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and then they stand out in front of the store at 7:31, and they sing, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. All a cappella. It's beautiful. You ought to go by some morning and listen to it. At Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they have all the fluorescent and HID lighting and all the rubber cord and the fuses, everything electrical for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Over 57 years in business, serving you where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland in Burley. Nice people. And I want to talk to you a little bit right now. Let's see, what is our next subject matter? I would talk about baseball, and I want to talk about, the terrorist situation in the world. This is despicable. We'll talk about that in just a moment. By the way, Valley White Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert, they've got all your fishing supplies. I know that a lot of friends of mine are saying, holy cow, we went over to Valley White and we were checking out, and they got all the fishing lures, all the fishing equipment. They've got all the camping equipment. They've got everything. And for those of us that are involved in all the county fairs and everything, they've got all the clothing for you if you're showing your animals. They got the boots and the shirts, and they've got all the shampoos and the show sticks and the haulers and the shavings. I mean, come on. It's all there for you at Valley White Home and Ranch. Absolutely your store. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Okay. We are right now, any moment, subject to terrorist acts, basically at anywhere in the world. The terrorists, the Al-Qaeda killers, are supposedly ready and on point to wreak havoc somewhere in the world very soon. And what have we done? Our illustrious president, with his lack of leadership and his amateuristic attitude, has closed down 21 of the embassies and basically told the world, we're going to turn tail and run. That's the way I see it. Maybe you don't agree. I don't believe in cowardice, and that's exactly what this president and his administration are proposing. I think cowardice. How despicable and how worthless to kill and maim in the name of terrorism. For what purpose? What purpose is there in killing and maiming people? Why? Why are these people, this Al-Qaeda organization or any terrorist group, all they want to do, and they've made statements, they said they want to kill anyone and everyone from the West, and that means you and I. Why? Why in the world is life not valuable and precious? Why do these people just think that they can kill in the name of Allah? It's pathetic. And I don't see an answer to it. The only answer is to meet their force and subdue them with much more force. In other words, eradicate them. What other answer is there? You're not going to sit down and appease them. You're not going to sit down at a table and you're not going to have a summit meeting and negotiate. Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. No! All they want is their goals of complete dominance, insurrection, and terror. What else is there except to literally squash them like a bug? Call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. JB's 136 East 5th North in Burley. Oh my, they have wonderful menus. Oh my, they have wonderful specials. Oh my, they have great service. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the people. You're just going to love going in there for breakfast, like that breakfast buffet. Like I keep telling you, man, I love breakfast. That is my favorite meal, and I've been on this diet. And it's killing me. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But I go off the diet when I go to JB's because I really enjoy the food. You will too. It's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and I suggest you get in there today. Daniel and the rest of the crew, they'll be there saying, come on in. JB's 136 East 5th North in Burley. Nice people. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In kind of a related story, Muslim Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison, yes, he is a Muslim Minnesota congressman, is pushing in the Congress back in Washington for the government, our government, to take more power away from you and I as far as how we handle our money, what we do with our money, how we earn our money. And he's proposing that the government have a redistribution program to give wealth to the not-so-wealthy. It's nothing more than redistribution, the socialist attitude. Everybody's the same. Everybody's equal. Nobody's better. Nobody has more. And we're letting this happen. Capitalism is what made this country. And what we're doing to ourselves and to our country's future with people like him is absolutely despicable. These despicable despots should be stepped over. And Keith Ellison, I find to be one of the people that has to go. He has to go out of Congress. It's thoughts like his that are going to be the ruination of this country. And I hope the Minnesota voters say, that's it, you're out of here. Calls welcome. Come on, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, there's something coming up next week that is absolutely important. It's absolutely important. It's the 3rd annual Idaho Liberty Summit. It's going to be August 16th and 17th at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center in Burley. And I'm telling you right now that this is very important for all of us that care and love our country to be there in attendance. And I'm asking you to register for this event at either Moon and Associates in Rupert or Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, and the number to call also is 436-3714. And they need you there. We need you there. America needs you there at the 3rd annual Idaho Liberty Summit in Burley on August 16th and 17th. Take pride in what America was and can be again. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, what happened this morning? The phone lines dry up or something? Hopefully, the day will come that Muslim terrorist killer, Fort Hood shooter, Nidal Hasan, will be put to death for the horrendous hurt and suffering that he has caused so many people in his shooting rampage. This case should be a slam dunk, but I was reading some things about the law and this case, and I'm scared that this man may never come to justice. Now, what do you think happens if he, Nidal Hasan, is sentenced to death? Well, I thought, like you and I, that after being sentenced to death, naturally there will be the endless line of appeals. I thought that eventually he will be on death row and eventually he will get his just desserts, and I would love to see him hang. Not with a shot to the vein, anything else. I'd love to see the man hang. But I found out that the death sentence would have to be affirmed by the Fort Hood commanding authority, and after hold on, caller, don't go away, I want you on the air. After all this happens, the eventuality that the United States President must eventually approve a military death sentence. And right there, I threw my eyebrows up in the air and thought, with Obama, it will never happen. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Just a thought for the day out of the dictionary. Definition of a jackass. A male donkey, a contemptibly foolish, stupid individual, or a blockhead. Does that bring anything to mind?
Gee, no, Tony. I can't think of anyone that would fall into that category. Oh, please help me, great leader.
I couldn't think of a thing. That's why I came to you.
Well, I can think of how nice the jackass fits the Democratic Party with the platform that they adhere to right now.
Yes. Well, they can't say I'm being discriminatory or anything, because that's right out of the Webster's College Dictionary.
Absolutely. Tony, it's always good to hear from you, and thanks for lightening things up a little bit. You and Mary take care, have another sip of coffee, and enjoy the day.
I will.
All right, buddy, thank you. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, they're still calling Hassan on the news this morning, alleged shooter. I couldn't believe it. I mean, like you said, what's going to help? But if they convict the guy and execute him for obvious murders, and there's like 30 other people that are wounded, many of them severely for life, they're going to be suffering, and anyway, it's just going to be, we have to be politically correct when it comes to Muslims. No matter what they do, they can just get away with murder, literally.
Well,
so forth.
You know, Adrian, here's the thing, and I got a break coming up, but I want to talk to you about this. It would likely be decades, years and years and years before Hassan would even be considered for death. And by the way, no active duty soldier has been executed in the military system since 1961. So here you have a Muslim killer, a terrorist killer, and it wasn't workplace violence. It was absolutely a jihad, and this guy's basically going to beat the rap.
Well, he could, that's for sure. The other thing I wanted to mention, people, that Liberty Summit coming up at Burley at the on the 17th, Sheriff Max there, Pratt from the Gun Owners of America. It'll be a great day, and so people get lined up to attend that. It'll be well worth your time and effort to be there.
Absolutely.
So put a plug in for that.
We're going to hit it hard for the rest of the time leading up to it. Adrian, thanks much, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Caller, I know you're waiting, and I'm going to ask your indulgence. Don't give me the backing up, beep, beep, beep. Stay on the line. I'll be right with you. I got to get this in real quick, so stay tuned. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South, Hayburn, 438-8730. Right there at Jim McCall's farm. They got everything. They got all your brass fittings for airlines and brake lines. They've got all the oil and air filters. They got Bubba ropes. They got all the Bubba ropes. They've got everything. Rolls and rolls of duct tape. I mean, that's what holds my place together. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South, Hayburn, 438-8730. Time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and then I'll be right with that caller. Pacific Steel and Recycling, bit my tongue hurts. 320 West Main in Burley brings you the Capital Press Ag Minute. We'll be right back.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The U.S. Potato Board has named a California cherry grower who has run a large produce business and headed cotton and tree fruit commodity groups to serve as its new president and CEO. Blair Richardson, 46, has served for the past 4 years as CEO of Westpac Sales, Inc. and Ends Packing, Inc., based in Dinuba, California. He started work with USPB, the Denver-based National Potato Marketing Organization, on August 1st, replacing Tim O'Connor, who left USPB earlier this summer to head the new commodity organization, Avocados from Mexico. Richardson is a Texas native and a graduate of Texas A&M. He will give up his CEO position at Westpac, where he's a minority owner, but will remain on its board. This is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Do not forget, for all your recycling needs, it's Pacific Steel and Recycling. They pay top dollar for scrap iron, tin cars, auto, stainless steel, aluminum, copper, and so much more. These are really nice and very helpful people at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Give them a call, 678-2321. Good morning, caller. Thanks for your patience.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Our representative that's a Muslim is kind of like the bureaucracy. If it ain't broke, fix it until it is.
Well, I'm very concerned about this attitude of Keith Ellison, and he is a Muslim congressman from Minnesota, and he is espousing that the government take more power, which means take more of our money. He is espousing a demise of capitalism, and I don't want to see the guy continue in office. I want to see him out.
Well, I think if anything, we ought to give the government a whole bunch less money until they learn how to spend it in a way that's humane and reasonable. I think the government gets 3 times or 4 times the money they need, and it should be cut back, because there's no worse place we can invest it than in our government. It is absolutely the worst manager of money in the world, and it does the most horrible, ludicrous things that it can with our money.
I can't argue any of those points.
It upsets me to see them do what they're doing.
I can't argue any of those points, Jerry, because I'm absolutely fed up with the Congress and what they're doing with the funding and the giving away of our money to the EPA to have more controls over the populace. I think that there has to be some kind of a break put on and come to a sliding stop, because I am not happy with what's going on in this country, and I blame any and all of our political leadership in the House and the Senate for going along with the ideology of Barack Obama.
Well, I agree, and I can't make any other point than the fact that I don't like what they're doing.
All right, my friend.
I wished I felt that the money we pay on taxes was going to a good purpose. I think it's absolutely, almost 100% a waste of time with what they're doing with it.
Jerry, you're always appreciated.
I think our Congress people are overpaid. I think our president is grossly overpaid for what he does and the things he does. He should be paying us to be there.
Jerry, thank you for your call, as always, my dear friend. Enjoy the day. Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The Lord bless.
He already has. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody about the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo merchants that are saying, come on to the Cassia County Fair next week. It's going to be great. Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 South in Paul, and a new location on Kimberly Road, north of Kimberly by Red Cap Corner. Absolutely. Butte Irrigation, major hub for agriculture irrigation parts and equipment since 1975. They will get you wet. Burley Veterinary Hospital, nice people, absolutely knowing small and large animals and how to treat them with caring and compassionate atmosphere. Doctors Wally Ward and Scott Morley, they work on the animals and make sure that everybody's going to be A-OK. Burley Veterinary Hospital, 2869 Overland in Burley. And the Book Plaza, hello, Colonel Dale, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Come on in and see what's new at the Book Plaza. Absolutely. They're waiting for you at the Book Plaza, and all you have to do is stop in and check out all the books, all the special gifts for Mom. It's all there at the Book Plaza in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Hussein won't get anything but the Congressional Medal of Honor out of this.
No, I don't. He won't get an award, naturally, Helen. But the hypocrisy. No, I'm not kidding. This man's not going to get an award. But I will tell you this much: he's not going to get his just desserts either. I am so afraid that this is going to go on for, like the newspaper article I was reading said, decades. I don't think he will ever come to justice, and I think it's absolutely a crime against the victims' families and the victims themselves that they're not going to see justice rendered in this situation.
I think what's going to happen, too, is they'll send him down to Guantanamo, and then Obama can release him like he did the other 6 Taliban.
Now, there is an interesting point that the way things are going with this administration in basically closing their eyes and opening doors for people that should be locked up in a cell underground. I'm not going to dispute what you said, Helen.
Well, it's pathetic.
And by the way, Helen, while I have you on the air this morning, I want to give you kudos for brightening up some of my days when I get the emails from you. You, lady, are absolute. You should have been in the comedy business.
Oh, some of them are really good, aren't they?
Oh, some of them? Helen, you work overtime.
No, it's strictly what comes to me. I pass it on.
There were certain aspects of the top 10 Obamacare items. There was one in particular that I had to override and not use on the air, but it was my favorite, and I think you know which one it was. Bye, Helen. I'll see you later.
I do.
Okay.
Have a good one.
All right, thank you. I love that lady. She is something special. She is feisty. Harris Plumbing NG. Now, I'm telling you, folks, everybody needs a plumber. And I get calls on my program, and then I get calls afterwards, and people say, well, now, what business would you recommend for this, that, and the other? Well, I'll tell you something. I heartily recommend Harris Plumbing NG for all your plumbing service needs. Now, why am I saying that? Well, I had them here. I had them do work for me, and I am impressed. I'm not kidding you. One call, that's all. 431-8633. Drips, leaks, clogs, main water line repair, water heaters, softeners, 24/7 service, and they're courteous and polite. Harris Plumbing NG, 431-8633. You call them today. Call me right now, if you would. I think what we're going to do it a little bit early, but I'm going to give a Michael Rogers weather update real quick, and then we'll take some more calls. Go ahead, if you would, Michael, the weather update.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It is my intention to share with you that you're going to have a nice day just like I am. It's going to be sunny. The high today of 93, 59 for the overnight low. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. Show them weather you got.
Michael, thank you so much. MichaelRogersWeather.com, the best weatherman in the business. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I find this to be a horrendous court case. He's representing himself, he being Nidal Hasan, and putting these victims, putting these families through basically kind of a double jeopardy situation of suffering. And this man is sneering at them. This man is laughing at the court system. This man is absolutely making a mockery of what happened at Fort Hood. And justice is not going to be served. Justice is not going to be served. This man, this freak show, is not going to pay the price for what he did to hurt, kill, and cripple so many people. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. The part that bothers me the most about this Fort Hood shooting is the fact that it happened on a military base and the civilian cops had to handle it. I don't understand why the military didn't handle it. He should have never left that base alive.
Now, there's a good point, and I've got to ask you this. The man was wounded, but in this particular case, and people are going to say, oh, where's your humanity? People are going to say, where's your forgiveness? Well, in this case, I don't have any. A bullet to the head for this man would have been better off for all in this situation, because this man still is retaining his rank of major, and he's still being paid his salary while he mocks us.
Absolutely. That was a base full of trained soldiers. And why they didn't have rifles there ready and have some soldiers there that were, to defend that fort is beyond me. That I feel the military should have handled it, and I don't think that he should have left that base
alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you, sir. And what's going on now to these families of the deceased and to the injured and to the crippled and to the maimed after all their surgeries and everything to try to rectify somewhat all the shooting, the bullets, the wounding, etc. And then to have this man sitting there and just basically making a mockery out of the justice system, sneering and knowing that he will probably never be brought to justice, the real justice. This is hypocrisy at its worst.
Well, and it sends a message to our enemies, especially Al-Qaeda, that we're not taking this seriously or we're not dealing with it.
Yeah, but what are we taking seriously now, my friend? What are we taking seriously when we run with our tail between our legs and we close down 21 embassies, 22 actually, and we tell the world, oh boy, they might attack, so we're going to get out of Dodge City?
I don't know, but I feel like we're a dog with no teeth. We should have, the military should have handled this.
We are a dog with no teeth. Thank you. Good line. Thank you, sir. God bless.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The man's right. We are now, with Obama, as a country, a dog with no teeth. Very well said. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Gee, I didn't talk that long. Have a little patience with me. I mean, give me more than 15 seconds, please, on hold, please. Oh, my. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I believe that gentleman just summed it up. We are now a country in reference to a dog with no teeth. The whole world knows, America's not going to bite. When they get into a crisis situation, what do they say? Well, now we're going to take a good look at this, and then we're going to come out with how we're going to render our decision. Oh, please. Nail them. Not us. We're a dog with no teeth. Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, that's a slap in the face to our country. It really is.
What is? Explain what you mean. What is a slap in the face?
This trial.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It really is. It's a slap in the face to our country.
Fred, let me ask you this, and you and I are kind of one of the last couple of generations that probably believe in this. But Judge Roy Bean, the old Texas judge, when they were found guilty and there were eyewitnesses and there was no dispute about whether the guy committed the crime or not, they had the trial at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the next morning at sunup they hung the son of a gun. And this is what should have happened in this trial.
Why spend the money on this guy?
I can't imagine.
He's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty. Get rid of him.
Absolutely. And what
Send a message.
There you go. Send a message. Fred, that sums it up. Just like the gentleman said, the dog with no teeth, that's America right now, and we need to send a message that things are changing, and there's new law in Dodge City. But this administration hasn't got the backbone or the guts to do that.
That's for darn sure. Another thing I want to bring up, maybe you've got it on the slate, is this Tom Luna deal with this
Hello?
contract.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be talking about that next week. I'll tell you, as you well are aware, Fred, trying to keep up on about 30 different hot topics right now. This week, I've had quite a few things going on, and we're going to try to get into the Tom Luna situation this next week. I'll have a program on it. I'm thinking it's going to be next Tuesday.
Well, good, because that was sort of a slap in the face to the JFAX committee.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to get one of the legislators or a couple of the legislators on the program with me next week, and I'll let you know when it's going to be.
Keen on Senator Cameron.
Right.
He's in it big time.
All right, my friend. God bless you. Take care. Stay out of the heat. Enjoy the day. Thanks, Fred.
I'm going to do that.
All right. Thanks, Fred. We'll see you later. Thank you. All right. All right, buddy.
Have your Wi-Fi.
I will do that, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, sir. Here we are in a country. Now, seriously, I want to hear from you people. How many of you folks think right now in this area, and for that matter, those that are listening on the internet, zebbell.com, call your friends and relatives in other parts of the country. Tell them to tune into this program. I want them to call. They're welcome to call. How many of you folks think that we really are the country that we were and have been, as far as being the world leader, the world overseer, and quite frankly, the world's sheriff? Somebody has to do it, and we have done it for years. Right now, no, none of the above. I don't believe that we have the character in this country, especially with this administration, especially with Barack Obama as president. I don't think we have, again, the character to lead and to protect as we did years ago. We are letting Al-Qaeda, we're letting other countries, we're letting very subversive personalities and groups twist us and lead us around by the nose, and they know we're not going to do anything. The only person that went to jail over Benghazi was the guy that made the film that they blamed Benghazi on, and it wasn't even a part of it. But he's the only one that's gone to jail. The guys that killed, the guys that burned, the guys that were the terrorists, they're out there sipping coffee in hotel lobbies. They know we're a dog with no teeth, as that gentleman said earlier. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, there's a guy in New Jersey. I got to tell you this. I saw him this morning on television at about 4:35. And his name is Francis Del Vecchio, a United States Marine, retired. And he has written over 300 letters to Barack Hussein Obama. Over 300 letters to Obama telling him, and every letter is different, telling Obama what a terrible job he's done as President of the United States. And they had him on TV this morning, and he has put together a book of all of his letters. And every day, today included, he sent a different letter to Obama. He said he's going to continue writing daily because he wants to let this administration know with their ideology and what they're doing to this country and what they're not doing to be the world leader. He wants to let them know how much he has disdain for them. God bless him. He is committed. He's taken the time every day to write a letter and send the letter and do it again the next day and the next day. He's committed to letting them know. And the White House has responded to some of his letters. I think they've responded. I don't want to be held on this quote, but I believe that they said between 16 and 20 times they have responded. But he is the squeaky wheel that's demanding grease. And if he's starting to get some response from the White House and this so-called administration, think what would happen if 330 million people demanded that they start cleaning up their act in Washington, whether it's the president, whether it's the House, whether it's the Senate. Think of the power that we have to show our disdain and to change things the way they should be if we would just use it. This Marine is not going to quit. Mr. Francis Del Vecchio of New Jersey, lead on. Show us what we should be doing. Calls welcome, 436-2244. Hey, the Jerome County Fair. Caller, I'll be right with you. Have patience. Jerome County Fair, say cheese, is going on this week. Oh, my goodness sakes, today, Tuesday, let's see what they're going to have. They've got a sheep show. I got to say that real carefully. And don't forget, they got a horse show, and they got a pig wrestling tonight at 7 p.m. Pig wrestling. You better believe it. It's going to be fun at the Jerome County Fair. And then let's see what happens tomorrow night through Friday night, the PRCA Rodeo, and then on Saturday night, they're going to have the big mud bogs in the Depew Arena at the Jerome County Fair in Jerome. Say cheese at Jerome County Fair. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I think that our president, we elected a president, has changed his title in his mind to dictator. As soon as Congress leaves, he's passing bill after bill after bill on his own, saying this has got to be done, so we'll do it right now while Congress is gone.
Well, Carl, there is a movement. You're spot on to something here, my friend. There is a movement that has been endorsed by Representative Jose Serrano of New York. He's a Democrat, naturally. And there's a movement going on to propose an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to repeal the 22nd article, which says that the number of terms an individual may serve as president can be lifted. And think of what would happen if they repealed that part of the amendment and let Obama stay in as king and, like you said, dictator. We are in trouble, my friend.
We're in serious trouble. And when you talk to people, I'm around my own people, so I don't have that problem. But you get over in Washington State or Oregon, and those folks over there think he is absolutely great.
Now you got to tell me why. Why did they feel that way?
Because they haven't read the Constitution. And I'm getting to the point where I don't want to be a Republican. I want to be an independent, and I would like to get a hold of a bunch of constitutions and go over there and pass them out and ask them to read them.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
A lot of those people can't read. So.
I think you've touched on something that is worthy of a long, long discussion about how in the world America has let itself get so slovenly and so sloppy as to not knowing and be educated about what the Constitution has afforded us as a country and what's being taken away from us. And they are like living under a rug. They just absolutely do not understand what's going on.
I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, my dear friend, take care of yourself. God bless you and your wife. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I kind of don't understand something. My nephew tried to explain it to me a while ago when he got out of the military on why they take the guns away from our military guys. But they're not allowed to carry their weapons. Even when they're on base, they're really not allowed to carry their weapons. And a lot of this has to do with lawsuits. It seems like a lawsuit changes everything. It's changing the school systems. It's changing the way we can talk about God and everything. Why can't these families sue our military for those guys not being able to carry a gun? Because if our guys could carry a gun, something like this never would have happened.
Very interesting point, and I said yesterday on the program regarding another subject that if I don't know or understand the law or whatever, I'm going to say I don't. You bring up a very interesting point as to why we couldn't have a countersuit as far as protection is concerned. I'm going to check on that. I've got some people coming on the program next week that are going to be talking about military matters. I'm trying to get former Lieutenant Colonel Thomas McInerney back on my program, and that's an excellent point. I've made a note of it, and I'm going to ask him about that. Thank you, sir, for your call.
You bet.
God bless. Thank you very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Hoss, this is the Chief.
Yeah, Chief.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
It looks like you're having trouble getting around, though.
No more than usual. It's I wasn't designed to run the 100-yard dash in 9/8, so I'm just going to have to do what I do.
Well, you got those stubs down there all bracketed up so they don't bend, huh?
The what?
Those stubs of your legs.
Oh, I don't have stubs on my legs. I got feet just like you.
Hey, I had a question for you. It's not about the subject.
All right, go ahead real quick.
I saw a saddle bronc rider here the other day, and he was riding, and this cowboy had a lasso in his free hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought they had to wave that free hand high and over their head for 8 seconds. Is that legal?
Well, see, there's ranch-style bronc riding, the Old West bronc riding contest, and then there is the PRCA bronc riding contest. In the ranch style, they can do a lot of things that they did in the Old West, if you will, kind of the Charlie Russell attitude, and there's a lot of different rule changes, and I'm not going to take the time now to go over it with you, but if you'll call me after the program sometime, a lot of the ranch bronc ridings or the Old West bronc ridings like they have down in Elko, the rules are far, far different as to what they can and can't do. So I'll explain those to you sometime when you give me a call.
I thought maybe the kid was grabbing, and that was a way to keep him from grabbing, but that's interesting.
All right, well,
talk politics to you today.
All right, Chief. Well, God bless. Take care.
Get mad and call me names.
No, I'm not going to get mad and call anybody names, but I will appreciate your call. Take care of yourself. All right, thank you. All right, buddy, thanks. Bye. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, always serving you. 7 great locations in this area. Tires? Okay. Go on in the door and say, okay, here's my vehicle. And here's what I do, here's where I drive, here's what I like to do, and they'll say, okay, now listen, we've got just the tire that will suit your driving needs. Yep, they can help you. And then, of course, too, they've got free peace of mind tire protection. If your tire is damaged beyond repair, they'll replace it at its value. Their workmanship is guaranteed for the life of the tires. They offer free pre-trip safety checks. I'm telling you, you get so much more than just tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, best in brake service, it's all there for you. And you can stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline and Twin, my old buddy the Seahawk fan Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Gina, you've been real quiet this morning. Wow.
Real quiet?
Yeah.
Well, I've just been listening to everybody.
I thought maybe you'd taken a trip to Hooters or something.
No, more like Buffalo Wild Wings or something.
Hey, did you hear that story? I saw the story on the news this morning. Real quick about that python falling through the roof and killing 2 little children?
I know. First and foremost, okay, I'm not a big snake lover. As a matter of fact, I hate snakes. And so that in and of itself kind of freaks me out, that it would be in an apartment building.
Yeah.
But who am I to say? But to have it kill 2 little boys while they were sleeping.
Oh, my.
Just devastation. Just devastation.
100 pounds. How would you, honestly, I don't care who it is, whether it's somebody my age or a little child, a 15-foot python falls through the roof and strangles somebody? I mean, my goodness, what a horrendous way to go.
Well, and you would think that it would make some sort of noise. So many questions in my mind, but very horrendous. And my heart goes out to the family and the owner of this python. Well, let's just hope that they both stay in the same cage.
Amen, man. I tell you, that was a sad sad story about those 2 little boys.
I've heard that and my heart just broke.
Absolutely. I can't stand snakes. I don't want to be around them. And then to think that somebody's laying in bed sleeping and you got a python falling through your ceiling. Are you kidding me?
It's not like they're not going to make any noise when they fall.
Yeah, really.
But apparently these little boys were tired, and so it fell, and they were asleep, and it wrapped them up.
Absolutely. Well, listen, good to hear from you, and we're going to take a little break, and then we're coming back, and we're going to talk about the Jerome County Fair, and then at 9:30, Joel Wolverton's going to be right here in the studio. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, my, I love that big old piano right there. Good morning. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 great locations. And, of course, some of our great advertisers include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And let's not forget our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
believe it. Hey, listen, if you're going to have a company picnic or a party or a family reunion and you think you got everything from the chicken to the coleslaw, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, we forgot the porta potties. Well, that's what you need to check on. They've got summer rental of restrooms, standalone hand wash stations, everything at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And don't forget, too, the route service to pick up your garbage. It's gone. All you have to do is call 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Before we get our guest on the phone this morning, I want to remind you also about a dear friend. I talked to him earlier this morning, too, Joel Heward. Good heavens, did you hear that plane fly over? Low. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. And they always acknowledge the solemn responsibility that they have to provide families that they serve with the best possible support and comfort, with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Please, all of us need to have the information on pre-planning funerals to help alleviate a lot of the stress and the worry for the rest of the family. Call them today, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, serving you. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we're going to have a lovely lady that is on the line, I'm assuming, that is the fair manager for the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, Kathleen Dietrich. Good morning, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning to you.
Well, you're by the phone and ready to go, and I know that you've been sitting in a great big recliner the last couple of days doing absolutely nothing. Let the whole world evolve around the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. Oh, gee, eating bonbons, nothing to do, huh?
Nothing to do, just waiting for everybody to show up today.
Well, not bonbons. I should have said, say cheese at the Jerome County Fair.
Yeah, cheese and crackers.
There you go. Okay, tell us a little bit about the theme. Say cheese. Where'd you come up with that?
Well, we're supporting our dairy industry that's so strong here in Jerome County.
Okay.
So we're having a great time with the theme. The 4-H'ers are having a great time decorating with the theme, and of course we've got our dairy cows.
Absolutely, and I respect what you're doing, and salute to the dairy industry. But the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo is so much more. Now, actually, it started, yesterday, and today you've got a whole bunch of things going on. Open sheep show, I understand, and horse show. Give us kind of a rundown on what's going on over there today.
Well, we finished off our junior rodeo Saturday night. We had 2 great nights of junior rodeo, and the kids are awesome. Yesterday, we're just moving in. Today, we have pig wrestling, and parade starts at 5 o'clock, pig wrestling at 7. Pig wrestling entries are full. We have over 60 teams entered, so it'll be a long, fun night.
Now, whoa, Kathleen, wait a minute. We got to stop right there. Pig wrestling. Give me some of the definitive rules of pig wrestling.
What are the rules?
Yeah.
Rear end first into the bucket. That's the rule.
Okay. And I'm sure
you just have to grab your pig and stick him in the barrel.
All right, and I'm sure it's a nice, clean sport to where everybody's going to wear nice pressed Wranglers and a white shirt, right?
Yeah, we have a 12-by-12 pen full of mud.
I love it. And then tomorrow on Wednesday, you've got the beef show, and you've got sheep show, and then also, I understand the PRCA rodeo starts on Wednesday night, right?
Yep, we have the PRCA rodeo starts tomorrow night. It goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Clint Sylvester, our awesome clown, will be there again, and he is just a huge crowd pleaser. The McMillan Trick Riders will be there. It's a whole family of trick riders, and of course our awesome cowboys and cowgirls.
Absolutely. And then on Saturday night, I got to talk to you about this, the Mud Bogs.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to that beautiful Depew Arena? You're going to turn it into a soupy mess.
You know, you have to give our arena credit for being the best, the most multi-talented individual at the fairgrounds. We're going from pig wrestling to rodeo to mud bogs, and it's 200 feet of mud racing, and anybody can enter. You just have to enter prior to the show, and it's going to be from 6 o'clock probably till almost 10 o'clock. It's going to be crazy. We're going to have right in the middle of it, we're going to have a rock crawl. And that's for Jeeps, I suppose, or anybody that wants to crawl their vehicles up over a rock.
Oh, my. Why, just the other day.
It's going to be crazy.
It is going to be fun. We've got a caller with a question for you, Kathleen, so stand by and listen. Go ahead, caller, real quick.
Sounds good.
Real quick, caller, go.
Yes, I want to know how big them pigs are
that Zeb's going to wrestle?
Well, first of all, Zeb's not going to get in the pig wrestling.
For Zeb, and it's 250 pounds, so he'll be all right.
250 pounds.
Just about the right size to handle.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, caller. I appreciate it. 250-pound pork chop is something I ain't going to play with, I'll tell you that. Well, you know, Kathleen, you can't go to a fair and you can't go to a rodeo unless you absolutely plan for cheeseburgers and soft drinks and French fries. Have you got a lot of good food booths over there?
Well, we have awesome food booths. Of course, we have corn dogs and Maui Wowies there and lots of ice cream and that kind of stuff. But this year we'll have deep-fried alligator, deep-fried calamari, deep-fried pickles, and deep-fried apples. I can't think of any more deep-fried stuff, but there's tons of good food.
Wait a minute.
Leave the diet at home because you won't need it there.
Deep-fried alligator. Now, I want an honest answer on this. Have you tried deep-fried alligator?
No, they're new this year to the fair, so I will be trying it.
All right. What other special events did you want to mention at the Jerome County Fair this year? Go ahead if you would.
Our hypnotist is on the stage daily, the incredible hypnotist Richard Barker, and he is great, another crowd pleaser that just was so popular last year. We have the Fugitives will be playing near the beer garden on Friday and Saturday after the rodeo, after the mud bogs, and then of course we can't have a fair without having baby pigs, and we have baby pigs now, but we'll be having a sow that will have her babies on Thursday, so come see the babies.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you what, I will pay you a little bit of money under the table if you will arrange for the hypnotist to go get Commissioner Charlie Howell and put him in a permanent trance.
And what will he be doing while he's in this trance?
Probably nothing more than he does now.
Charlie Howell's awesome commissioner and my boss. I love Charlie Howell.
All right, well, I figured you had to protect your job a little bit. But, Kathleen, we want to remind everybody the Jerome County Fair is going on now, and it lasts all this week. God bless you for the work you do as a fair manager. You did a great job on the radio this morning, and I can imagine I bet you're going to be one of the entrants in the pig wrestling, are you not?
No, that's a big fat negative. I do not do that.
Okay. Listen, God bless and have a great time at the Jerome County Fair. And remember, everybody, say cheese at the Jerome County Fair. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you.
All righty, take care. Very nice lady over at Jerome at the Jerome County Fair, and we thank her for coming on the program, Kathleen Dietrich. And hello, Joe, how are you? Joe Wolverton just got into the studio, and we're going to have him on the air in just a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Right now, we got to pay some bills. Joe, go ahead and sit down. And Idaho Lending Group, 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Every Thursday, we listen to their program right here on my show, Making Sense with Your Money. Well, Idaho Lending Group, 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin, 734-5626, NMLS number 181777, equal opportunity lender, and they can help you with your mortgage. They helped me on a refinance of my mortgage, and I'll guarantee you, very caring, very courteous, and knowledgeable people serving you. Write the number down, 734-5626. Idaho Lending Group in Twin, serving you. Calls are welcome and appreciated. We got a little time right here. And, Gina, I wanted to talk a little bit about that summit that's coming up on next week. And I know you're a part of it. You've talked to the family, the Moon family and everything. And it's going to be, I think, one of the great events for people to be involved in. Because I said earlier this morning, take pride in what America was and what it can be again by attending the 3rd Annual Idaho Liberty Summit next week, August 16th and 17th. At the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center.
I think it's if people want to get involved, if they want to know what what the most important issues that we need to be focusing on right now, definitely just take some time and attend this. It's going to be worthwhile.
It is. Everybody says, well, why doesn't somebody do something? Why don't you do this? And then you've heard this on my program. Somebody will call me and they'll say, well, Zeb, why don't you go do this and that? And you know what? I get a little bit ticked off sometimes, if you will. Why don't you go do something? Why don't you in the audience get involved?
Yes.
It takes all of us, not just the focal and vocal people in the media.
Exactly. And so, you know what, to all of those people who are saying, well, you need to do something, well, you need to do something too, and this is your opportunity. So get off the couch, get out of the chair, and do something positive. Educate yourself.
Have you ever wrestled a pig there, pretty girl?
No, but I've thought about it.
Have you really thought about pig wrestling? Come on. You don't go to bed at night thinking and dreaming of pig wrestling, do you?
No, It's kind of those, you know, if somebody mentions it, the thought mulls around in my noggin for a little bit, and I think, oh, you know, it might be fun. Then reality hits, and I'd probably hurt myself.
You know, honestly, if you had an opportunity, I'm going to ask you this right now, before I do my next commercial break, and then we got Joe, we're going to get on the air here in a few minutes. He's going to be on for a full hour. He can sit and relax. He drove like heck to get here. If you had to make a bucket list of the things that you wanted to do, but you turned into a chicken, what would you do? What would be on your bucket list of things that, well, I almost did it, but I backed out?
Bucket list. I want to drive an unlimited hydro.
An unlimited hydro?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, unlimited hydroplane, like the big hydroplane boats that have the jet engine in the back, and
oh my,
they have that on Lake Washington.
Oh, now that would be on my bucket list too.
Yep, I want to do that.
That would be on my bucket list.
Let's see here. I don't know. What about you?
Well, I want to. I told you already that I'm been in the Western business and the cowboy business and the rodeo business all my life. Mm-hmm. And this shocks some people, but Deanna and I have on our bucket list, like I've mentioned on the air, we're going to get one of those Harley-Davidson tricycles.
Oh, yes. You want to go to Sturgis?
And I'm going to let my hair grow long, and I'm going to have on the tape deck on the front of that tricycle, get your motor running, and it's going to play 24/7 nonstop. Whoompa, whoompa, and we're going to travel.
Speaking of which, speaking of that little trike, did you get my my text? It was like last week.
Which one?
You didn't. It was a picture of a flyer of somebody that had one for sale.
No, send that over again.
You seriously? You didn't get that?
No, I didn't. I would honestly tell you if I did. And last night we're sitting out on our deck, you know. We have geyser time here at the ranch. Geyser time is from 6:30 until 7:45. Geyser time is when the sun has gone to the west side of the house and we can sit on our cedar deck, and geyser time means you can put your feet up and watch traffic go by. And did you ever notice that when you're sitting out on the porch or in the front of your house, people go by and they stare at you? They slow down. Instead of going 55, they slow down to 30, and they're going, oh, like being at a zoo. We're the head monkeys, okay?
Yes, yeah. Well, but see, you know, people watching is so fun. And see, you live out on a highway.
Yeah.
And so, you know, everybody's driving it by a lot faster than they would in front of my house. And so they're like, they're probably checking you out just as much as you're checking them out. Which, by the way, check out your phone, because I just texted you that again.
Okay, well, I definitely am going to get that. But I tell you, last night it was so funny. There was a line of cars. There was about 8 cars in a row. They were following a tractor, okay? And we're out there having our geyser time, and they're going about at the most 15 miles an hour. So Deanna and I leaned forward, and we looked at every car, and they looked back at us, and it was like a 4th of July parade, only we weren't going anywhere.
Did you wave at them?
Yeah, well, we waved. We didn't. We were thought about running in the house and getting candy and throwing at them, but it's pretty hard to get in an open window of a car going 15 miles an hour.
That would have been too funny. Yeah, and I'm sure that they were staring right back at you. And of course, the guy in the tractor, you know, he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
Everybody behind him is like road raging, probably.
Anyhow, my bucket list, it's at Harley. Oh, look, the picture just came up. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I got your picture. I got it.
So have Deanne take a look at that. You can expand it out or whatever, and then it lists all of the information and how much and this and that. But I when I saw that, I automatically thought of you two, so I took a picture of the flyer, and there you have it.
And the other thing I want to do on my bucket list is that I want to go back to my teenage years when I was in college, and I want to visit all the baseball parks that I went to. I went to Wrigley Field. I've been to Comiskey Park. I've been to now the new Brewers Field in Milwaukee. I want to go back to Atlanta Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to try to take and tour as many baseball diamonds as I can before all of a sudden they throw dirt in my face.
I guess one more thing that we could add to my bucket list is I want to go to Ireland.
Really? You just want to go to the pubs. I know you.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
See, I'm Irish, and so I would really like to go to Ireland.
I didn't know you were Irish.
Oh, very much so.
You have very, very dark hair. You don't look Irish.
That's color in a box. But.
Oh. You used to have red hair?
No. My last name is Milligan.
Well, with a name like Milligan, I darn sure didn't think you were from Poland.
No, so we've done our family research, and we come from a specific clan over there in Ireland. So we want to. At least I want to go. That's on my bucket list, and I know my brother.
Who do you think drinks more beer, the Irish or the Germans?
The Irish drink more whiskey, the beer, and the Germans drink more beer.
Yeah, I'm 100% German.
If it's Guinness, though.
Huh?
Depending on if it's Guinness, though.
Oh, well, the beer over in Germany, and I know this when I went overseas to go to Spain, and I did quite a few of the equine events over there. The Germans, their alcohol content in their beer is much more severe than the little stuff that we have here. I got up one morning and walked without crutches.
And then, do they like their beer warm? Is it that they drink their beer?
It's warmer than I like, and in those steins, it gets warmer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I didn't care for that. But those people, after one or two steins, they think they're Jimmy Swaggart.
Well, hey, yeah.
They can go to the mountain and heal people.
Amen, brother.
I got to do a commercial.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Say, don't forget Quali's Electronics. And you know what? There's guys running around. And we had one of those little banty roosters come to our door here about a week ago. And he walks up and knocks on the door, and he's got this really kind of a straightforward personality, and he says, "Oh, I can save you a whole bunch of money and change you over from Dish to DirecTV." And he started spewing off all the things he could do, and then all of a sudden he mentioned, "Oh, yeah, and we're also in business with Quali's Electronics. We're associated with them." And I said, "Wait a minute. I know Quali's Electronics. They've been friends of mine for 30 years. I know Bruce very well. I don't think you're in business with them." And all of a sudden, strange as it may seem, this young man kind of pulled his horns in and said, "Well, thank you very much for your time, sir." And he started to leave. And I said, "Well, why don't you give me one of your business cards?" And I ran out. Just at the house before yours, I gave my last card away, and I thought, well, watch out, because these people are not associated with Quali's Electronics. And Bruce Quali and the rest of the folks over there at 1730 Kimberly Road said, if they tell you that, they're lying. Quali's Electronics can absolutely help you with Dish or DirecTV and save you a lot of money, and they install it too. Call them at 733-4910, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, Quali's Electronics. Hey, by the way, next week, the great big Cache County Fair and Pro Rodeo, don't miss it, and they're going to have one of the greatest country music entertainers in the business anytime, anywhere, and that, of course, is Aaron Tippin. Big concert coming up, and it's sponsored by Cat Country and Coca-Cola. It's going to be fantabulous on Tuesday, August 13th. Showtime, 8 p.m. Get there early, get a good seat. Absolutely, it's going to be really good listening. Tickets are available right now at the Cache County Fair office, 678-9150, and in person you can stop in at the office, 1101 Elba Avenue in Burley. The Cache County Fair and Pro Rodeo, August 12th through the 17th. It is going to be so much fun this year as they're celebrating another fantastic fair season at the Cache County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Okay, I've made him suffer long enough. He's been sitting in the studio, and I don't want to keep him. He's going to be here for about an hour, as a matter of fact. I've never met him before, and I'm going to turn the microphone on. And, Joe, I'm going to have you pull that real close to you, and you can put those headsets on. And Joe Wolverton from Utah. How are you, my friend?
I am doing so good, Zeb. Thank you for having me on.
I'm shocked. I'd never met you before, and you're just a really nice man.
Well, same to you, sir. I am honored to be here. At the ranch, I'm telling you, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, I'll be honest.
Well, why are you overwhelmed coming into possibly one of the worst office environments in the world? You better leave breadcrumbs on the floor. You'll never find your way out of here.
You speak the truth, but I'll tell you, I'm amazed by, I always am when I come into the workspaces of men who, like yourself, have led a life of distinction. And I always look around and I see, good grief, I couldn't put up 2 plaques, much less cover 4 walls with the honors that I've been awarded by people. So I'm impressed and honored.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you. Maybe you can move that just a little closer. That microphone's really directional. Joe, now, I'm honored to have you on this program, because you have really made a niche for yourself as an authoritative author, especially when it comes to what's happening in this country with our rights and our reason being diminished. And when I say that, I'm talking primarily about gun control and how this government has really changed. You have been at major meetings. You've written about things that have been transitioning in America to lose our rights and lose our freedom to do certain things. What do you see looming on the horizon, Joe, as far as this administration for the next 3 years?
Well, the most important thing I see coming up immediately is within, I would say, a month or 2 months at the most, is President Obama signing the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty.
He is going to sign it.
Oh, there's not a question. I mean, when I talked to the Undersecretary of State last week, Tom Countryman, in John Kerry's office, he said that all they're waiting for is the lawyers' green light, and as soon as they get that from the State Department lawyers, President Obama will have a little signing ceremony and explain to us how taking away our guns is good for the children.
All right, now, Joe, for the people that aren't aware or have been perhaps not informed about this United Nations treaty, give us kind of an overview, a thumbnail sketch as to what it is going to do here in the United States.
In the United States and in all participating nations, of which the United States is one, the most important thing to remember about the Arms Trade Treaty from the United Nations is that it is not about disarmament. It is about civilian disarmament. The treaty specifically says that all guns, ammunition, and component parts will be in the exclusive monopolistic control of government of member states. That is to say, people like you and me cannot be trusted with guns, ammunition, or component parts. That's everything from an intercontinental ballistic missile to a .22. Everything in between those two extremes will be put under the exclusive control of government. Civilians cannot be trusted with weapons, according to the United Nations. And perhaps the most important thing is it dictates to anyone who participates, and that includes the United States, it dictates that government must create a control list of everyone who owns firearms. It must establish a ceiling on the amount of ammunition that a person can own. And it also established that no civilian, that is to say no person who isn't the government, can buy, sell, trade, or transfer any ammunition, any arm, or any component part, for example, aftermarket magazines or gun sights or that sort of thing. And that must be accomplished by the government of that member state, they call it, any country in the world that participates. And of course, the thing I always tell people most about this, that should get people the most frightened, I mean, the control list is one thing. A list of gun owners is absolutely contrary to our way of life and to our constitutional liberties. But the most important thing is Article 16 of the Arms Trade Treaty mandates that if the government of any one of these participating nations cannot accomplish the disarmament of their civilian population, the United Nations will send peacekeeping forces to aid in the disarmament of that population.
You know, Joe, I'm going to interrupt you right there because there's just a plethora of things to talk about as concerns with this treaty. Now, number one, there's probably many people in my audience, many people in any audience across any radio station in the United States that are going to go, oh, come on, I don't believe this is happening, I don't believe this is going to take place. It's here, it's ready, and it's almost implemented, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I sat in the belly of the beast at the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan in March sitting right there with the American delegation when they rose up and voted in favor of this globalist gun grab.
Who was on that American delegation, or is it important? I think I'd like to know.
Well, the head of it, I think the important thing to remember is the head of it is Tom Countryman, Under Secretary of State Tom Countryman. He's the head of it, and he was there, and they all waited for him to enter, and he reported that he had just gotten the green light from President Obama to vote in favor of the Arms Trade Treaty. And of course, as you know, once the United States agrees with something, there are several nations that are going to fall in line because we're sort of the leader of the pack. That is to say, Great Britain, Germany, France, Australia, New Zealand, those countries, mainly the old English colonies, are all falling in line. When the United States does something, they fall in line. And so you had people sitting there just waiting to see what the United States would do. But of course, it was all sort of sound and fury signifying nothing, because at the end of the day, it was the United States and President Obama and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton who promoted the thing to begin with. So we all kind of knew what was going to happen.
Who actually had written the bill, structured the bill, and created the bill, the formation of it, so that it could be passed on by the United Nations? Who really was the author of that bill?
Well, it's impossible to say who was the one author, because there were so many fingers in that pie. But the United States, they could say, I went to a meeting, I speak Spanish, I served a mission for the church in Mexico, and so the ambassador of Spain invited me to speak at a meeting there at the conference in New York City in March at the Arms Trade Treaty, and he wanted me to speak in Spanish, and he invited me to speak in favor of the Second Amendment. Well, I sat there listening, and the one thing that all of them repeated, all of the ambassadors and all of their underlings repeated from all of the nations that were invited to that meeting, was the last and great obstacle to global civilian disarmament was the Second Amendment. And they sat there and said, if we can get around the Second Amendment. So to me, what that says is the fact that it was ultimately passed with the cooperation of the United States says that someone in the United States federal government was giving them the language that would be necessary to make sure it would pass muster.
Do you think, Joe, and I'm going to be skipping around quite a bit this morning on this subject, but do you think with your expertise and your writing skills and following this subject that this kind of a UN treaty would have been promoted and possibly signed underneath the Bush administration or even the Clinton administration, never in the Reagan administration? No. Do you think now is their prime time, knowing that they've got the ideology of Obama in office?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt, and I think that's an important thing to remember when you've got President Obama, who I talk to people, obviously, all about this all the time, and the one thing I hear is, well, the Senate will never ratify this treaty. And I agree with that. I don't think the United States Senate will ever ratify the Arms Trade Treaty, but in the world we live in, I don't think that's important anymore. President Obama has demonstrated repeatedly that he will disregard the Constitution.
The executive power type thing.
Exactly. He will disregard the Constitution, and if the Senate decides not to ratify the treaty, which 50 plus of them have said they will not, I believe he will enact the treaty through executive order.
Really?
Oh, there's not even a question. This man, as was said about one of his predecessors, stroke of the pen, law of the land. And that's how he sees himself. He sees, Zeb, you have to realize, on the official White House webpage, there is a tab called We Can't Wait. And under this tab, We Can't Wait, and I encourage everybody to look at it, whitehouse.gov, and click at the top there on We Can't Wait. On this tab, President Obama explains that if Congress fails to act in ways to protect the American people, then he has to step into the breach and issue executive orders to take care of that. Well, as we know, the mantra for the country we live in is safety. Everything's being done for our safety. Mm-hmm. President Obama will not hesitate to use executive order to enforce the terms of the Arms Trade Treaty should the Senate fail to ratify.
Let's jump ahead a little bit, Joe, and I know this is looking into a crystal fishbowl right now, but let's assume that for the remaining tenure of the Obama administration, it doesn't get done. But then, as we look past this administration, it also doesn't look very rosy because of the painted picture right now of Hillary taking over as president in 2016, which I think could be as bad or even worse as what we have right now.
I agree with you. And the thing about Hillary Clinton is she learned at the feet of the master. She is, after all, the at least nominal spouse of Slick Willie himself. And she, for example, regarding the arms trade treaty, in July of 2012, she came out and said, "We will never, ever approve a treaty that violates the right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment." Well, as soon as her master's voice spoke, as soon as Barack Obama was reelected president, she, within 2 hours, had issued a statement saying, "I support the arms trade treaty. We should back the arms trade treaty. We should get behind the arms trade treaty." So demonstrating, as I said, she has learned at the foot of the master. I mean, she knows how to switch her positions as soon as it becomes politically safe to do so.
Joe, you followed this, and I'm going to do a commercial break right after you answer this question. But you followed this for how many years? Gun control issues in this country?
20?
20 years.
Absolutely.
But you're only, what, 21?
21 twice.
Okay. But have you been surprised, if you will, as an author and a contributing editor to various magazines, have you been surprised as to the snowballing effect and how quickly this thing has got to be enhanced as a major problem?
Absolutely. I was just talking, I gave a speech a couple nights ago up to the Constitution Party of Utah, and we were talking about that, how there were men in the audience of advanced age, and they were saying, 50 years ago, the people of this country would have been up in arms with pitchforks and torches.
Yeah.
But today, we simply say, as long as the cable's working, as long as we don't miss our favorite show, as long as the internet's fast enough, none of us care anymore, and it just rolls on by. And the point I make is that, boy, it won't be, if you imagine that's happened in the last 50 years, imagine what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
What is the reason for it, Joe? Now, you're quite a bit younger than I am, and I'm an old man right now. But what happened? What happened in our society? What happened in our education system? What happened in our parenting? What happened in our churches that the American ideal and the pride, everything seems to be gone? It seems to be put to rest someplace.
We are not our father's children, that's for sure, because we once were a people who would... we descend from people like Charles Carroll, for example, one of my favorite signers of the Declaration. The man wrote his address on the Declaration of Independence so that King George's agents could know where to find him to hang him. We're not those people today. I think the first step that took us away from that family tree, if you will, is when the government took control of schools. Once the government took control of schools, mandating the curriculum that would be taught, I think we've raised several generations of children now that have been taught to look to government rather than look to their family, or looked, as you say, to the churches, look to the government for their support, and that there's no shame in it. That rather than being shameful, it's something they are owed, that the government is a place to go for relief. And I think now that it's been so many generations in a row of that, it's difficult to tell people younger than I am, it's difficult to tell people in their 20s that government is taking away their rights when all they know is government is the name on the check that they cash every
Absolutely.
month.
Well stated. Well stated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to have Joe Wolverton in our studios right here at the ranch this morning. So please call if you have questions. He's going to be here for the next 45 minutes, as a matter of fact, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Blazing hot summer sale. Oh, boy. No money down, no interest until 2014. You got to see this to believe it. They've got great big clearance on recliners, casual recliner. It regularly priced at $609, now $299 clearance price. The DuraBlend recliner, now just $599. Oh, you're going to save all kinds of money on their carpeting, their love seats, their living room groups, their dining room groups, bedroom items. I mean, right now, blazing hot summer sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You've got to get in there today. Check it out, save money, and beautify and comfort your home with the very best at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. Also, don't forget where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Oh, my. They've got now in stock the Can-Am Maverick Max 4-seater. Fun, you better believe it. And don't forget, too, the 2014 models are showing up daily. All you have to do is stop in and enjoy where the fun is sold. Nick and the rest of the crew taking care of you at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop in and see them today. Joe, we're going to be back, and I've got literally, I don't know if we've even got enough time this morning to take care of all the questions I have for you, and I certainly appreciate your coming up here. By the way, what do you do on an everyday basis? I mean, do you write every day for various publications?
I do. That's my 9-to-5 job. Mostly, lately I've been traveling around, doing as much traveling as writing, and going to speak to different groups interested in liberty and the Constitution, and explaining to them some of the things that our government is doing, and trying to do my best to foment the revolutions, to get these people waking up and get them to be the type of men that we were sent here to be, and protect liberty and do everything in our power. And if we have one life to give for our country, well, so be it.
I want to talk to you about that word you used in just a minute. We'll talk about that in just a second. When you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, yep, you got it. You know two names that come to mind, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Dean and Todd, very dedicated and responsive to your needs. Thoughtful, caring, and they're very accessible to answering all your questions. All you have to do is call 436-4424. 436-4424, the best. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Okay, you said the R word. And I've said the R word many times on this program, and I want to talk about the word revolution.
Okay.
You know, in today's age of political correctness, and I don't have to be telling you this, Joe, but you and I are being watched, you and I are being listened to, you and I are being scrutinized, I think more so than ever before, because I've said on this program, we need a revolution of thought, word, and deed in this country to get us back to the basics of our Constitution and the moral value of America, and I'm going to stand behind that.
Absolutely, and I will stand there with you. I'll be the last man in the last foxhole when it comes to that battle. I think that when you study the history of this country, the thing that I think paved the way for the war for independence, and this is a distinction that I make, and I tell people this when I go give speeches, is I don't call it the Revolutionary War. I call it the war for independence because we didn't want to change government. We just wanted to remain free from tyranny. So I think that the first thing that needs to happen, and you said the M word, morality, I think the thing that set the stage for our war for independence was a return to morality. A moral people is a free people. Because this is what happens, Zeb, when you become a moral person, and I don't care what religion we're talking about, there are moral Muslims, there are moral Jews, there are moral Catholics, Mormons, Methodists, etc. I think when you become a moral person, what happens to you, especially a Bible-based moral person, you come to understand the source of your liberty. You are free because you are a child of God. God endowed you with certain unalienable rights. When you recognize God as the source of your rights, you will realize that no one has the right to take those away from you except Him. So you become a person who recognizes the moment that government begins to either take your rights or pretend that they are the source of your rights, you will be a person who gets fired up and stands up for liberty.
Well, and I think you've touched on something we could go on and put our own seminar on. When we saw the very insidious and the very prying into our lives, like, and I'll give an IE on this, like the mayor of New York City, Bloomberg, trying to push a law and regulatory system saying you can't buy a drink of over a certain size. That should have been a red flag to everybody in America to say, wait a minute, stop the bus for a few minutes, I need to get off. Because government has run amok. They're telling us how much we can drink, they're telling us what to eat, they're telling us what health insurance we have to buy, it's mandatory. They're telling us we can't drive here, we can't go there, we can't set foot on public lands, they're closing it down. Don't they realize the door to America's value system has been slammed right smack dab in their face?
I don't know how we don't, but we don't, Zeb. And this is the frightening thing, and this is the thing that makes me keep the road hot. I know there are good-hearted Americans who are anxious to restore our constitutional republic. I know they're anxious to, and they just don't know where to look. But when you look around, you say things like, they are telling us we have to do that. They are telling us we have to do this. You know, I have seen the enemy, and it is us. That government is our servant, not our master. But we've fallen asleep. We sit on our throne in stupor, as someone wiser than me once said. We are looking at this federal government as something to be fought against instead of something that we created.
Yeah.
You know, if you can do it, the thing that I always try to help people do is put it into a family context. If your kids rise up against you, when you discipline them. You remind them who's in charge.
Absolutely.
And you remind them why. You created them. And as their creator, you're trying to make sure that what's best for them. The federal government is our creature, not our creator. And it's time to start acting like the masters instead of like the servants.
When you look at the overall picture, and you of all people, Joe, you've written about this, you've been at the meetings, you've met the personalities in charge of control. I mean, that's the 7-letter word that they have, I think, in their mantra, is control. What's your response to these people when you go up to them and you tell them that you're absolutely against gun control, you're absolutely against body and mind control, you're absolutely against government being the catch-all and the panacea for everything? What do they tell you when you go up and tell them you just believe in freedom that's being taken away from us?
They laugh.
They laugh?
They honestly have told me, to my face, many of these people that you speak of, that the Americans will never rise up and defend their freedoms as long as we keep them entertained and fed.
Really?
Is it not true, though?
So when you look at the situation, I don't mean to jump in on you, but when you look at the literally millions and millions more of people that are putting themselves on the food stamp ratios and believing the government's going to feed them, we're already there then, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it does. Excuse me, my hobby is studying the effects of ancient Rome and Greece on our own society. And I remember the saying that the Romans, the reason they became a slave population as opposed to the freest nation on the earth at that time is because they had plenty of bread and plenty of circuses. Does that not describe us today in the 21st century?
Absolutely.
As long as the government's giving us our bread and keeping us entertained, that's all we're concerned about.
But there are people like you, and there are people like me, and many others, the Tea Party members, and many others that are concerned citizens about what's going on in this country. What happened to their voices? What happened to the unity? Look at the last election prior to this one, when the Tea Party had a voice. The Tea Party had power. The Tea Party could make demands and commands. What happened?
Well, I think like most other opposition groups, they've been brought into the fold. And unfortunately, when it comes to a lot of the candidates that the Tea Party backed, these people get up to Washington and they contract what I call Potomac fever. They get up there and it causes amnesia. They forget their commitment to their oath of office, they forget their commitment to their constituents, and they forget their commitment to the Constitution. For some reason, the closer you get to that city over there on the Potomac, it becomes impossible to remember your principles. And you start voting to retain power. And this includes all but a very select handful of the representatives and the senators who sit there in those marble palaces in D.C. And I'll tell you, Zeb, when you look at things the way they are today, and you're talking about government surveillance run amok, to where every word you say is monitored and recorded, where your phone can be remotely activated by the federal government to record every word you say in your house, regardless of whether you're on the phone or not. The microphone in your phone can be remotely activated by the government. The webcam that you have sitting here on your computer can be remotely activated by your government and record every movement. When you're talking about this, there is nothing that these people will not do to make sure that this country is turned into a gulag. And it is for that reason that I say we have more to fear from the extremists in Washington, D.C., than we have from the extremists in the Middle East.
I want to take a break right there. I got to do some commercials. But when we come back, I want to talk more before we have to go to ABC News about surveillance, the drones, etc., which I know you're an expert on and you've written about. So stand by. More with Joe Wolverton. I bit my tongue. Joe Wolverton in just a moment. So stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Calls are welcome. 436-2244. Don't forget some of the great merchants that are helping promote the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo next week. Butte Irrigation we talked about last hour. Right now we're going to mention the Burley Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott. Oh my goodness, 230 West 7th Street North in Burley. Need a break? A romance break with the little missus? Well, they've got a romance package at the Fairfield. A box of chocolates, a bottle of sparkling cider, a king-size suite, and a huge pool. It doesn't get any better than that. Burley Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott. Along with Kelly's Bearing Supply. They're located at 1407 East Main in Burley. Don't forget they've got everything on hand, and they don't want you to waste your time or money. They've got all the bearings, chains, brackets. All you have to do is stop in and see Zach and Brett, the bearing specialists at Kelly's Bearing Supply in Burley. They are really good folks. And last but not least, Fence Solutions at 2833 Overland in Burley. Fence Solutions serving Southern Idaho since 2007. All the premium vinyl fencing, decking, and porch railing, along with all the vinyl products for your garden or yard. Give Corey a call, 312-9275 at Fence Solutions. Joe, when you talk about power and our abdication of our power as citizens in this country, we've got lazy, we've got absolutely, I think, in the lawn chair or the geezer chair, and we're letting everybody run over us. What about our congressmen and our senators? Now, here in Idaho, and I think in Utah also, I think you'll agree with me that on a national level, you have some people that have been speaking out, and we in Idaho have some people that have been speaking out, Crapo and Risch, and you have Mike Lee and some others down in Utah. But I don't think the general public goes to the meetings, goes to the various roll call meetings where they have maybe the open forums where they can ask questions. I think they treat politicians with a hat-in-hand situation, like they're almost treating them like rock stars, and instead of treating them like what they really are, our employees.
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things we can do, and looking to Washington is one thing. Like you say, they have become so obsessed with their own power that it is a hat-in-hand situation. It is where citizens now recur to Washington only when they need something, and that feeds the beast, Zeb. That's the problem. Those people want to be the place that you go to when you need help, because that gives them power over you. And what I tell people is, if you want to remain free, if you want to turn that city on the Potomac back into the swamp it used to be, if you want to get those people under control and force the beast of the federal government back into its constitutional cage, you've got to turn these states into bastions of freedom that the founders intended them to be. But here's the problem, Zeb. Everyone I know, without exception, when I go to these meetings, most of them can name more Kardashian sisters than they can name their state representatives. If you throw a rock, you'll hit 10 people who can name you 10 reality show stars, but cannot name their state representative.
And you're so correct on that. And I made a comment on this a couple of weeks ago on my program. I was watching the O'Reilly Factor, and they had Water's World, a segment where they went to the man on the street interviews, and they were basically keeping the demographics of ages 35 and under, okay, of the voting populace. And they asked such simplistic questions, and these people, absolutely destitute of any knowledge of anything that's going on in the world, they made fools out of themselves. Very few people could even name the vice president. Very few people could even name some of the situations that were going on in the world, like the scandals that have come up in this administration. And it scared me. It scared me to think that these people in 20 years are going to be the people and the generation literally in power.
Absolutely. I mean, we do have, unfortunately now, like I've said, a good 3 or 4 generations where the government has seized absolute control of the education. All you need to do, if you want to find out, if you want to scare yourself, keep yourself awake at night, go down to your local public school, your high school, and ask to look at an American government textbook and read it. I did so. I had a teacher send me one. She had her hair shocked white from what she was supposed to teach. She sent me this American government textbook. And I'm going to tell you, excuse me, I'm going to tell you that from page 1, this thing sent these kids off on a path that was so immoral, so incorrect, and so unconstitutional that it would be nigh on impossible to bring them back to the straight and narrow, constitutionally speaking.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were taught, Zeb, under the 3 branches of government. You read the executive, and it said, the executive, in absence of congressional action, the president is authorized to make law. It said, in certain emergency situations, the president can declare war. Right there, that should have been enough to slam that book shut.
Absolutely.
But here's another thing where we've been lazy, Zeb. We look to the schools as babysitters.
Well said.
If you want to look at our founding fathers, these men, who taught these men? Their mothers taught them. You got someone like George Wythe, Zeb, who was Thomas Jefferson's law professor. That man could speak Latin and Greek as quickly as he could speak English. But the point is, they never would have thought to look to the government to teach their children.
Joe, I got to interrupt you right there, and we're going to tell everybody, Joe Wolverton is going to be with us this next half hour. Please call. Very, very informative man, very well educated, and very capable as an author and a writer. So he'll be on this next half hour. Real quick, we're going to hear a weather update from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Michael, if you would, please.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It is my intention to share with you that you're going to have a nice day just like I am. It's going to be sunny. The high today of 93, 59 for the overnight low. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to take a break. ABC News coming up, and we'll be back with more. Joe Wolverton right after this next 6-minute break. Thank you very much. Welcome back, hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch in the old studio here at the Ranch House, and we're honored, absolutely honored to have this man take the time and the effort to come into the studio at the Ranch House. Joe Wolverton from Provo, Utah, attorney and author, and absolutely so well versed in what's going on in America today. And we're going to have much more with Joe, but please honor him with some phone calls and questions, because a man like him with his knowledge, we need to pick his brain just a little bit. We're going to have more with Joe right after I remind you, too, the 3rd Annual Idaho Liberty Summit is going to be next week, August 16th and 17th, at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center in Burley. Take pride in what America was and can be again, and register for this great event. Get a hold of Moon & Associates in Rupert, 436-3714, or our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley to register for the 3rd Annual Idaho Liberty Summit. Great speakers, just absolutely telling you what America can be again at the 3rd Annual Idaho Liberty Summit next week, August 16th and 17th. Also, real fast, the Chadwick Sports Grill. What a great place to eat. And they've got a senior citizen dinner special Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., only $5.95. Are you kidding me? Listen to this. Today, Tuesday, August 6th, sweet and sour meatballs over steamed rice and super salad, and it is good. Atmosphere, warm and friendly people. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. The Chadwick Sports Grill. And coming up this Saturday, live music with Rick Bowler and Bill Barton. All of this and more at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Real quick, too, before we get started, Quality's Electronics, we talked to you about them last hour. Don't forget they can help you with Dish or DirecTV. Don't listen to the door-to-door salesman. They'll string you along. But Quality's Electronics, very reputable, have been in business for years and years. I've known the family for over 30 years at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, 733-4910. They can help save you hundreds of dollars, and they'll install it for you, too. And local service to support what you buy. You better believe it. Quality's Electronics in Twin Falls. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Wolverton is on the air, and we've been talking about a plethora of different subjects, but I want to go back a little bit to gun control and what's happening in this nation. Joe, why and how did this anti-gun or this anti-being safe and secure feeling, how did that incur itself in our nation and in our society to where myself as a gun owner, I'm looked down as possibly a villain? I mean, how did this start? And then caller will take your call. Go ahead, Joe.
I think what began it all, and so many of the way that our rights have been taken from us bit by bit, is we began to see government as the source of our rights. And from that moment, anything the government said, we were forced to obey for our own safety. And I'll just say, as a sort of a tangent, Zeb, to that, is that not only do we have the right to own a gun, we have the obligation constitutionally to own a gun, because I would encourage your listeners, if you want to know more about the purpose behind the rights that are secured by the Second Amendment, read a couple of the Federalist Papers, Federalist number 27 and Federalist number 28. In those papers, Alexander Hamilton explains the purpose behind the right to keep and bear arms is not to protect your family, not to protect yourself. It's from criminals. It's to protect your family and protect yourself from government. It was specifically put into the Bill of Rights to remind people and to prevent government from taking away the last and best defense against tyranny, and that is an armed populace. Because, Zeb, as someone wiser than I once said, a disarmed populace is a slave populace.
Absolutely. We've got a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Wolverton. Are there any executive orders that are borderline treasonous?
Are there any?
For our country?
I would say there's enough to fill volumes, a whole bookshelf, sir, of executive orders that are treasonous. But unfortunately, that's a word we don't use anymore. We're a bit too soft these days to accuse anyone of treason, much less to hold anyone accountable for what they do. There is no accountability. But as far as any executive orders, it's like I tell people all the time, don't rely on what I say. Go to the whitehouse.gov, click on presidential statements, read his executive orders, and make yourself a list. Make yourself a list of the things that you consider treasonous, and the only thing you need to do is use the Constitution as the standard. On the day after Sandy Hook, when President Obama signed those 16 executive orders restricting the right to buy, sell, trade, or transfer ammunition and weapons, every one of those is treasonous, because every one of those violates directly his oath of office.
Caller, thank you for your question as always. God bless you. Thank you. Caller number 2, go ahead, please.
Oh, hello, Joe. This is Dar Moon.
Hey, how are you, Dar?
I'm very good. Listen, you're right on topic on so many things that are occurring, and we're having some great people come to the Idaho Liberty Summit this weekend, or this next week. And you probably know some of them, Dr. Duke Pesta with Freedom Project Education.
Yes, sir.
And some of the opportunities that he has to tell people about for children's education that is a program that, and an opportunity for people to get their children educated on a real education and not some of this syrup that they drip out at public schools.
Absolutely.
Dr. Duke Pesta?
Yes, I do. Dr. Pesta, as a matter of fact, hired me last year, I believe it was last year, to teach a series of classes to his organization, the Freedom Project Education, to teach a series of classes to high school kids on the Constitution, on the Federalist Papers, and on the concept of nullification. And so for a year there, last year, I taught a couple of times a week a class via Skype to high school students on those very important topics of liberty, on the like I say, on the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the concept of nullification. So Dr. Pesta is, in a sense, my employer.
Well, Dar, I'm telling everybody to get over there on the 16th and 17th, and we'll keep plugging it, and thank you for your call this morning.
Well, thank you, Zeb, and we appreciate that. And many of the things that Joe is talking about here, we're going to have experts in the field speaking, and it's an opportunity for people to come and hear So we're just very glad and appreciate all your efforts and all of yours too, Joe. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. And, of course, we're speaking about the 3rd Annual Idaho Liberty Summit in Burley on the 16th and 17th. Joe, okay, here we are. It's August the 6th, 2013, and we hear the rumblings that private land's going to be taken away from us and closed, more closures from the BLM, the Forest Service, etc. We hear that gun control activists with the United Nations are going to have the treaty and possible enforcement in the future. We hear that ammunition might not be available. We hear more of the control from big government. They're going to have more surveillance. We might be in a picnic in our backyard and look up and see drones that are recording and taping everything that we do and say. Why can't America see that this isn't the Norman Rockwell painting that we had on the Saturday Evening Post years ago? Things have changed.
It has changed, and I wonder how long it will take and how personal it has to become. I mean, when we have, I'll tell you an example of these, the drones. We've already had the first American who was arrested in violation of his Fourth Amendment rights from being, monitored and watched with a drone. The eye of government is never blinking. And we are now in a prison. And we are paying the wardens for the pleasure. And it makes no sense to me. And I don't know what it will take, if it will take enough people being personally impacted. But I'll tell you, like you say, through the surveillance, through the things like Common Core, the way they're taking over the education system, from the seizure of public lands to...
I'll throw one in for you, Obamacare itself.
Absolutely. Through all of these things, it is about time that enough of us rise up and inform these people that we are not slaves, that we are our father's children, and we do remember what happened to 1776. And we live in this 1984 world, and it's like I tell everybody every night that I give these speeches. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
And you're in regards to the book by George Orwell.
That's right. In regard to Big Brother, the answer to Big Brother is Thomas Jefferson. Let's get some of these principles. Read your Declaration. Go through like I did a few months ago at the behest of some readers. I wrote an article on how America under President Obama is worse than the colonies under George III, and went through the Declaration and made a list of all the things that George III did that Barack Obama does much worse. I mean, when Barack Obama dies and meets George III on the other side, George III will fall down and worship the man for how he was able to become such a powerful dictator all while we slept. I mean, the things he does to take away our freedom, our founding fathers would never have stood for.
Amen. Amen. Joe Wolverton. Caller, I know you're there. Just give me 30 seconds. I'll be right there with your call. Don't forget, say cheese at the Jerome County Fair. The Jerome County Fair is open and in full swing right now. And don't forget, tonight they're going to have pig wrestling. Oh, boy, at the Depew Arena at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, Thursday night and Friday night, PRCA Rodeo. Saturday night, they're going to have the Great Big Mud Bogs. Don't miss a minute of it. Fun all day long at your Jerome County Fair and Pro Rodeo at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. And remember, say cheese at the Jerome County Fair. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. My question is, I've long been an advocate of the governors getting together and just stop funding the federal government. I mean, it's our state's right to, keep our own money, our own lands, and run our states as we see fit. And I was wondering if you could explain the difference between a constitutional convention and a constitutional confederation.
Very good.
I'm going to hang up and listen.
Thank you. Joe, please.
Yes, sir. I think what the caller is speaking about is my favorite concept, and the concept I just wrote a book about, which is nullification, which is the right of states to hold, not only the right, but the obligation, according to the Founding Fathers. James Madison said, it is not only your right, it is your obligation as states to hold as null, void, and no legal effect any act of the federal government that exceeds its constitutionally enumerated powers. Anytime the federal government does something that the Constitution does not permit it to do, states are obligated to ignore that and refuse to enforce it. And when I hear people talk about us as a nation, Strictly politically speaking, we are not a nation. We are a confederacy of states. We do not have a national government. We have a government with we have a central government with a few national responsibilities. But for the most part, our founders designed this country to be a confederation of 50 sovereign states. And the caller is absolutely right. There is no reason that Governor Otter, Governor Herbert in Utah should not make a press conference, stand on the steps of the Capitol, and in front of God and everybody, rip apart the check they get from the federal government every month. Refuse to enforce and refuse to be bribed, because that's what it comes down to. When you've got a state like Utah, for example, that gets 34% of its budget from Washington, it's really difficult to have them stand up to their master and bite the hand that feeds them.
And Joe, I'll say this, and I want to see your response to it. I think that America today has been misled and lied to under assumed power.
Yeah, let's start with this, and I think the caller would appreciate this, and this is something that gets on my nerves more than maybe anything when it comes to this notion of federal power. People will often say to me, even conservatives, they will say, and I've testified in front of state legislatures from sea to shining sea, and every time I go, you'll have Republican state legislators who will tell me, we'll stand up to the federal government, but once the federal government has passed a law, there's nothing we can do about it because of the supremacy clause in the Constitution. First of all, let's set the record straight right here on no better place than the Zed Bell Show to set the record straight. Number one, there is no such thing as the supremacy clause, so please stop saying it, conservatives. Please stop saying there's a supremacy clause. In Article 6, it says that in any law of the United States, that is a law passed by Congress, that is in pursuance of its constitutional power, is the supreme law of the land, state law notwithstanding. Now, the phrase that pays, being on the radio, we're familiar with the phrase that pays. The phrase that pays in Article 6 is in pursuance thereof. When Congress passes a law in pursuance of its constitutional power, that is the law of the land. However, that same protection does not apply when Congress passes a law in violation of its constitutionally enumerated powers. If they exceed those powers, that is not a law at all. As a matter of fact, Alexander Hamilton says not only is it not a law, it is a usurpation and deserves to be treated as such.
Amen. Amen. Joe, we've got another caller, and we're almost out of time, but you got to promise me one thing. You're going to come back real soon. We're not even covering a tip of what I wanted to cover.
Well, I don't have any choice. My wife's from Hayburn, so I'll be back as often as you need me.
I love it. Thank you. Caller, quickly. Go ahead, please.
Hoss, this is the chief.
Yeah.
Well, if you and I and people in the country believe in states' rights real strongly, then we should be against the war on drugs.
All right,
I'm just going to let you comment on that.
I'm going to have Joe speak on that. Go ahead.
Well, I agree in part with the caller. That is to say, there's nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government the power to pass laws regarding what drugs should be legal and illegal. I agree with you. And the fact is that it's come to a situation where the federal government sees that there's not going to be anything done by the states, because state governments, all they mainly are now is they're just departments of the federal government just cashing the checks. And I agree. If it's not in the Constitution, the federal government cannot do it. They have no power for this war on drugs. However, the states need to step up.
Amen.
And reflect the morality of their people.
Amen.
The closer a government is to the people, the truer and better that government will be. So if you've got states like Idaho and Utah, where I know the populations are against these illicit drugs and the drug trade and the damage, the permanent damage it does to families and individuals, step up, state legislators. Let's see you be manful and step up and pass these laws and tell the federal government, we don't need your help.
Well stated. In the time remaining, Joe, and I've only got about 6-7 minutes left, I want you to paint a scenario, a picture, of what Joe Wolverton thinks in a crystal ball visage is going to happen with gun control in the next 3 years under the Obama administration. I want to get back to gun control. A lot of people are concerned, hunters and sportsmen all over this country. What, honestly, do you think insidious means this government, this ideology of Obama will go to?
Well, we need to first establish the foundation. The foundation is that as a Christian nation, we have not only the right but the obligation to protect ourselves from anyone who would deprive from us the liberties granted to us by our Creator. That's number one. Once you understand that, you understand that there is nothing that the federal government should do that you shouldn't oppose when it comes to curtailing in the least way your right to own a weapon. Any weapon, Zeb. If you look at it morally speaking, the Second Amendment was designed to protect us, allow us to protect ourselves from tyranny of the federal government, or the state government for that matter, but from tyranny of government. There should be no way that we agree, but here's the crystal ball. I'll put it to you this way. Let's look into the crystal ball. The crystal ball shows that there will be the following things that are either passed by Congress or issued as executive order by Barack Obama. There will be an absolute ceiling on the number of rounds of ammunition you can own. That's the first thing. Because they know that without ammunition, a gun is just a club. So there will be a ceiling placed on how much ammunition. Now people are going to say, well, how will they know how much ammunition I buy? Well, let me tell you. Because there will be an executive order and a law passed that require, well, it's already been passed by the United Nations. It will become the law of the United States, where every round of ammunition from manufacturer to end user must be tracked. They will put a chip in it, as they are doing now.
Absolutely.
They will track those rounds of ammunition to the end user. That means you. Now you will say, well, how will they know where I have it stored? Well, in November of 2012, the Department of Homeland Security took possession of a little thing, a little laser about the size of a shoebox that they can attach to the drones that they have, the fleet of drones, 30,000 drones that will go live over the skies of the United States by June of 2015. This little laser attaches, and guess what this little laser is designed to do? In 1/1 of a second, well faster than you can blink, this little laser can read 2,000 square feet. It can read through drywall and concrete. And it is designed to detect one thing, Zeb, trace amounts of gunpowder.
Really?
So they're going to know who has it. You can't hide it.
Absolutely.
And they will know who has it. And then there will come a day. Here's the crystal ball. There will come a day that they will come to your house and say, we need you to hand over your guns and ammo or come with us. And that's when we're going to find out what we're made of, Zeb. When they're standing at the door, this militarized police force that we have, federal police in armored personnel carriers, and they come to your door and say, give it to me or come with me.
Amen.
That's when we're going to find out who we are.
Amen. Joe, I hate to end this conversation, but I've got contractual and commercial obligations, but please come back.
I've got to go wrestle a pig anyway, so.
Joe Wolverton from Provo, Utah, author, attorney, and just all-around good guy. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor, Zeb.
Yeah, it's been my privilege and honor to have you here, Deanne. I'll have my lovely wife come out and show you the door, but you got to promise to open that door in the future and come back.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, and have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few moments, we're going to have Bruce Qualley on with Qualley's Electronics in Twin Falls. Joe, God bless. Take care, my friend. And before we do that, I also want to remind you, too, we've got some other things to take care of, and that's, of course, the Burley, Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. My goodness, they've got a lot of things planned at the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo for this year, including the great concert by Aaron Tippin. Oh, my goodness, that's going to be next Tuesday, August 13th, 8 p.m. showtime. Tickets are available right now at the Cassia County Fair office, 678-9150, or stop in person at 1101 Elba Avenue in Burley. Also, Taco Bandito in Burley has the tickets for Aaron Tippin. What a great singer with great songs like You Gotta Stand for Something, and that fits right into what we're talking about here this morning. Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo, it's going to be outstanding. They're going to have ranch horse contests, dog shows, all kinds of things at your Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. And real quick, some of the great sponsors we want to thank for helping promote the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo are Perkins Family Restaurant at the Best Western Inn, 800 North Overland in Burley. Perkins Family Restaurant. Stop in after the fair or the rodeo. They've got all the homemade pies, cookies, and shakes. Great place to have breakfast at Perkins Family Restaurant. Also saying thank you to Pickett Equipment Company, 976 East Main Street in Burley. I've known this family and this business for a long time. Innovation has fueled Pickett Equipment Company from its birth, and believe me, they've got the best of the Twin Master edible bean combines, all the bean equipment right there for you at Pickett Equipment Company, 678-0855. Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Don't forget, offering irrigation systems, service repair to Burley and all the surrounding area. They manufacture wheel line elbows, and they also sell and service Cornell and Berkeley. They are specialists serving you in irrigation. Magic Valley Irrigation. And Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley, 878-2000. The number to call and the people to see at Redder's Showcase were the Serta mattresses. Oh my goodness, great sale and great sleeping on the Serta mattresses. And they're going to have special prizes during Fair Week. Stop in and see them today at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send it back over to our main studios right now, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. We're going to have a small visit with Bruce Qualley at Qualley's Electronics in Twin Falls, and then Dr. History. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. And before we go any further, a real quick weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It is my intention to share with you that you're going to have a nice day just like I am. It's going to be sunny, high today at 93, 59 for the overnight low. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. Don't weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. And right now we move on to Twin Falls and talk to a real good friend of mine. I've known the family for many, many years, and that's, of course, Qualley's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And on the telephone with us is Mr. Bruce Qualley, better known as the race car driver. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
Well, very well, Zeb. Thanks. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Hey, listen, I wanted to take some time this morning, Bruce, and let people know and be very aware that there are salespeople, door-to-door salespeople, that are very pushy and shovey, and they're kind of misrepresenting certain things about Dish and DirecTV. Tell us more about that, would you please?
You know, we have heard some really fishy stories. They generally have a good product to sell. Dish and Direct can be a good thing, but the way they go about it is just kind of deceiving. They generally get into people's store by saying, oh, we're just checking out the Dish in your neighborhood, and we know that your signal's low, and they come in and tell a big story and so on that way, and as soon as you know it, you're switched over to a different provider. If you're on Dish, they switch you to Direct. If you're on Direct, they'll switch you to Dish. They're just looking for a sale, and they talk a good story, but when they're gone, if you have any issues, that's when the nightmares start.
Absolutely, and I want to jump in here and say that's exactly what happened right here at Zeb at the Ranch. We had a very, very pushy salesman come to our door and say that, and then he also said something that I called him on, and he said they were associated with you, Qualley's Electronics, and that is entirely untrue, is it not?
That is what irks us the most. You know, they're crooked enough to say, oh yeah, we're working with Qualley's and so on that way. So, because we have over the years built up a great population of loyal customers, and we are so grateful for those customers. But it's just wrong when somebody uses our name and say, yeah, guaranteed we will not ever come to your door selling you anything. That is not our style. We want you at your leisure to come see us or call us. We will come out to your house, set it up, and Stuart, our man, takes great care of you and so on that way, and we will do that here. But absolutely, positively, we do not door-to-door salesmen. I think the thing should be illegal. I think people should just have their home to their own, and when they want to go buy something, they pick up the phone instead of having the salespeople show up.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, folks, at Qualley's Electronics, very reputable people that I've known the family for over 35 years, and they'll explore the different options and find the best option for you, whether it's Dish or DirecTV. Is that right, Bruce?
Yes, it is, and in some cases, many times it is worthwhile. I mean, if it gets your interest to look and see what else is out there for programming and sales options, it's a good thing to talk about. Many times people say, hey, you know, I've explored it. For me, staying right where I'm at is best, and we're happy to go over that and so on that way. But and if people say, well, yeah, for me it's time to change, then we can do that too. So we are open to the best solution for the customer, we really feel, and sometimes that's dish, sometimes that's direct, and sometimes that's not even either of them. So
all right, well, I want to tell everybody that, again, with my knowledge of the family and a very reputable business in Twin Falls, the best. Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And if you have questions, you can call Bruce, 733-4910. Bruce, thanks for taking the time to come on our program this morning.
You bet. Well, thank you, Zeb.
All right, my friend. Take care. I'll have you back again. Bruce Qualley, one of the nicest people you ever meet anywhere, with Qualley's Electronics. And believe me, work with the professionals, work with the people that provide local service, and that's to your satisfaction. Qualley's Electronics. And right now, we're going to quickly say it's time for Dr. History, brought to you by the new CSI Sage Truck Driving School in Burley, 878-5802. With our dear friend Lucky Bourne, you can become a professional truck driver. And here, right now, walking in with the beard and the cane and the big history book under his left arm, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
You know what? This has been one of those days where I feel like I've been at a high lope since 8 o'clock this morning. I'm all lathered up, hot, and I want to stop and get a drink of water.
Well, another 25 minutes and you got it made.
Okay. You know, I want to say up front how appreciative I am of you, Dr. History, better known as Dr. Ken Turner, for being so amenable to a schedule change this morning, and I want to say thank you for everything you did. Thanks much.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
What are we going to talk about this morning?
You're going to talk about a guy that I'm going to bet nobody out there has ever heard of. I'll be surprised if they have.
Okay.
It's an Indian warrior. His name is Roman Nose.
Roman Nose.
Roman Nose.
Now, it sounds like my old high school algebra teacher.
Or a girl you used to date?
Let's not go there.
Okay. Yeah, Roman Nose. This guy was a warrior, and kind of an interesting story about this guy. So, like I say, I'm betting nobody out there has even heard of this guy. So that's what I'm going to talk about today.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Now, some people may question, they've heard of the term Indian medicine. You know, how effective was Indian, quote, medicine or power or whatever you want to call it. But this one warrior rode his horse at a slow trot within 30 yards of 1,800 soldiers, each of whom was firing, shooting at him. He taunted them, he called them names, he made fun of them. He rode along their front not once but several times. He was a target for thousands of bullets, and he emerged from this experience without a mark or a scratch. And what is more, he repeated this performance several times on other fields of battle. This guy, his name was Roman Nose.
Well, he might have been brave, but he wasn't very bright.
Well, he's got an interesting story as to why he did such a thing as this, and that's kind of what I'm going to get into. Roman Nose was considering the fightingest of the fighting Cheyenne nation. And, of course, the Cheyenne, you know, we've heard a lot of stories about them being about the fiercest of all the nations. I mean, they're one of the toughest. But this Roman Nose, he had some strong features of the Northern Plains Indians. He had piercing black eyes, and his nose was just as it sounds like, hooked like the beak of an eagle. Now, one thing a little different about this guy, he stood about 6 feet 3 or 4 inches tall, weighed about 230 pounds, and he was every inch and pound a fighting man, and one of the best, one of the finest that ever lived. So he was a big, kind of intimidating type guy. I mean, they say that his chest was like a barrel keg. So, like I say, he was a pretty fearsome-looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like most Cheyennes, Roman Nose had more than one name. One is said to be, and I don't know what this means, Sots is one name. Another one, they referred to him as the Bat, and I'm not sure why that either. But, you know, he was called Roman Nose by the whites, and the name caught on with the Cheyennes, who they interpreted it a little different. To them, it meant bird of prey. So Roman Nose meant bird of prey to the Indians. Now, apparently Roman Nose was never a chief, and maybe that's why I'm betting nobody's ever heard of this guy. But he was certainly at the front in every battle. He led many attacks and raids. In fact, the whites regarded him as a chief and requested his presence on several of these peace conferences. But like I say, he never was actually a chief. Now, he had an advisor, I guess kind of like or a mentor or whatever you want to call him, and his name was White Bull. Now, White Bull was said to have gained his powers from the medicine of a deer, a bear, and a wild hog. And I'm going to get into this medicine thing here in a minute. That's what's kind of interesting about this guy. Now, war bonnets were worn only by those who were the real professionals in war. Now, there were only a few of each warrior society that were qualified to wear an actual war bonnet. And I've got a picture of this guy with his war bonnet, and it's a pretty impressive war bonnet. Now, if one were not accomplished in the art of battle or was not really a good warrior and you put on a headdress, usually you were made fun of by your friends and your enemies. So you just didn't put on a war bonnet unless you really were truly a warrior. Now, when it came time for Roman Nose to get a headdress that signified that he was mature in the art of war, he went to this friend of his, White Bull, and he requested that one that would protect him from the harm of his enemies and from the most brutal of nature's forces and all that stuff. So White Bull had just such a war bonnet in mind, and one that had been revealed to him in a vision. Now, it was more than an ordinary war bonnet. In order to make it effective, there was an elaborate ceremony that had to be observed before you put the war bonnet on in battle. So there were also restrictions placed upon the wearer. Now, he must never eat food that had been touched by a metal tool, like a fork or a spoon, and you could not shake hands with anyone before battle.
Okay.
Now, the war bonnet was composed of all kinds of things. They were usually constructed by the wearers, but in this case, Roman Nose had it especially built by this guy named White Bull. Now, it's kind of interesting. He had a single buffalo horn on it. He had the skin of a hawk. He had some eagle feathers, some red and some white. He had the skin of a swallow. And the idea was that in battle, the real Roman Nose entered the body of one of these birds represented in the headdress.
Okay.
So his body could be fired at but not injured because the real Roman Nose wasn't there. Just his spirit self. Okay? That is, so if the proper ceremonies had been observed and nothing violated, then he really wasn't there. He was flying around in one of these birds' bodies. Okay?
Playing around in a bird's body. Well said, Dr. History.
Okay, follow me here. Now, one time Roman Nose made medicine, what they call making medicine, on the waters of a lake. And in order to do this, he had to fast for 4 days. And what he did is he made a raft, and he went out on this lake, and all he took was a buffalo robe for a bed, and then a smaller one for a pillow, and a pipe to smoke. No food, no water, nothing else. Well, the first night a storm came up, and lightning, whitecaps, and all this. Well, the next morning, the tribe could see him out there floating in the middle of the lake, just fine, no problem. Well, the second day, Roman Nose was observed praying and meditating, and then the second night came another storm, more fierce, more waves tossed, and yet the third day, he was still out in the middle of the lake, just floating around there. Okay, third night, same thing, another storm, even worse. And the next day, sure enough, he was there. Well, the fourth night, this storm was so bad that there were hailstones that actually drove the Indians into their teepees and their lodges. Well, the next morning, here he was out there floating in the middle of the lake, no problem, hadn't been touched. So this was kind of the birth of the living legend of Roman Nose. I mean, if nature couldn't bother him, then nothing devised by man could bother him either. So, now the first occasion on record where Roman Nose demonstrated this was in a brush with that the Cheyennes had with the Blackfeet tribe, and he rode slowly along before the Blackfeet, kind of taunting them, and they fired shots and arrows and never hit him. And according to legend, Roman Nose actually turned down the offer of being a chief because he feared that if he was a chief, he couldn't be a good warrior, and if he was a warrior, he couldn't be a good chief, and he wanted to be a warrior.
Absolutely.
So, now, do you want to stop here for a break?
I do. I've got to get a commercial in for our sponsor of this segment, and that's, of course, CSI's Truck Driving School. Would you like to start earning $30,000 to $40,000 a year in as little as 4 or 5 weeks? Well, you can. All you have to do is call Lucky Born at CSI's New Sage Truck Driving School in Burley right now, 878-5802. You'll get one-on-one over-the-road training and all the necessary endorsements. And when you've earned your CDL, their team will help you get your first truck driving job. New classes begin every week, so call them Lucky Born right now. CSI's Truck Driving School in Burley, 878-5802. And now, back to the continuing saga of Roman Nose.
All right. So this guy's got this good medicine, okay? He's a good warrior with the strong medicine. So the first large-scale demonstration of his powers came during what they call the Battle of the Platte Bridge Station. This was in 1865. Now, Roman Nose directed the fight against, it wasn't a big fight, but there were 24 men, 3 supply wagons, and the Indians were attacking it. Well, Roman Nose rode slowly around the wagon train, looking at the defenses, and all the men were firing at him, shooting at him, but he was not hit, uninjured. He just slowly rode back to his men, and he directed them to creep forward under what natural cover they could find, and they were shooting at the train. Well, sometime later he rode forward again, and this time no shots were fired at him, and he rode on in and found that all the men were dead. And again, Roman Nose, not a mark on him, nothing. Now, the next opportunity to demonstrate his powers came just a few months later. There was a General Connors, and he'd been placed in command of what they call the Powder River Expedition. Now, this Powder River Expedition was kind of a sad situation for the soldiers. There was 1,800 of them. They didn't have the food. They didn't have the supplies. They lost 2/3 of their horses. It was not they weren't very well prepared. So, but anyway, it was on this Powder River hunt that the battle known as the Roman Nose Fight took place. Now, the soldiers were discovered by the Cheyennes, and both sides were squared away to fight. But there was a request to wait for the arrival of Roman Nose to his people. Mm-hmm. But he had not completed his medicine ceremonies. Like I said, in order for him to be powerful, he had to go through this kind of ceremony before he could put on the war bonnet. Mm-hmm. So when he arrived, he rode slowly up and down the entire length of the soldiers at a distance of 25 to 30 yards, not once but several times, daring them, taunting them, gesturing toward them again. They were firing at him, shooting. He didn't receive so much as a scratch. 1,800 soldiers.
Oh my goodness!
Shooting at this guy.
We've got to do something about our military training.
Well, finally, the Indians did lose the battle because they came up with some cannon and they started shooting the cannon, and so the Indians left. But again, Roman Nose riding up and down in front of all these guys, 1,800 of them. Maybe they had buck fever. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word, but
maybe they were just doggone lousy shots.
Well, I guess. But his medicine was, again, it was so strong, at least in his mind, that he couldn't be killed.
Why do I get the feeling that you're going to end this story by saying he taunted a train and stood on the tracks, but that was his demise?
Well, not quite that dramatic, but almost. So, anyway, here he is, this warrior, always in front of his warriors. His size, his battle dress, he's obviously easy to find and never forgotten. In fact, pioneers along that area, they would use his name to hush their children at night and say, if you're not good, Roman Nose is going to come and get you. So their kids were good. But
my wife said that to me the other night.
Yeah. But 1868, there was a body of experienced frontiersmen that were organized to fight Roman Nose and another Indian named Tall Bull. Mm-hmm. Now, there was only 50 of these guys, these experienced frontiersmen. Well, they confronted and surrounded the Indians, and the Indians were again directed by Roman Nose, and again, he just calmly and coolly directed the affairs of the Indians. Now, here's where things didn't go good for Roman Nose. Now, the night before the battle, Roman Nose had been invited to a feast. And when all had finished, it was discovered that the woman of the lodge had served the food with an iron fork.
Uh-oh.
Now, you remember what I said earlier?
Yep, don't do that.
Not to eat anything that had been prepared with iron utensils.
Oh, brother.
So this broke the powerful medicine of Roman Nose.
Mm-mm.
Well, Roman Nose had no time to go through the purification ceremonies that he always goes through. So here he is, this great warrior. He rode out and directed the fighting from a distance because he knew he wasn't being protected, but it wasn't enough. The battle was going badly, and he was accused of holding back while his friends were being killed. So Roman Nose answered that his medicine had been broken, but if it was what they wanted, he would take an active part, and although he was sure to be killed. Now, he painted himself in the familiar black with yellow leopard spots that he painted himself with, and then he had a crimson sash that he wrapped around his waist, and then he put on his famous war bonnet, and he rode on into the battlefield. Well, when everything was ready, he was riding to his death, and Roman Nose gave the signal to charge. And he had a bunch of Indians with him. They were formed in several lines, 60 across, and he was leading this charge against these 50 guys. Well, his medicine failed at the last minute, and within a few feet of his objective, he was killed by a shot from an older guy that was also the best shot among the scouts. Well, Roman Nose was hit in the side, but during the excitement, he managed to crawl from the stream bed onto the mainland, where he was rescued by some of his men. But he died that night about sundown, and it was kind of a fitting and appropriate time to end a distinguished and violent career. He was buried in secret by his wife in undistinguished clothing to hide his identity, because she didn't want him dug up and mutilated or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the story of Roman Nose, the famous warrior with the famous war bonnet, strong medicine that he believed protected him. So, we've heard stories about the medicine men and the strong medicine that some of these guys feel like they have. And he certainly believes it.
Well, now, wait a minute. I want to back up a little bit here. I got a time before I got to finish my last commercial, but you said he painted himself up, what, black with yellow spots with pink?
Yeah. Well, okay, black with yellow leopard spots. Okay?
Yeah.
So he's black with yellow spots, and then he had a crimson sash that he wore around his waist.
Sounds like a guy that went to a concert of a Grateful Dead concert years ago or something, for heaven's sake.
I know. Sounds like a Kiss concert or something.
Well, yeah, and he had that last meal that wasn't served correctly, and that was his demise, huh?
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm guessing that had he not known that he'd been served food that was against the rules, he probably still would have believed he had the power.
I want to go back to the headdresses, too, the Indian headdress. Those, according to what I've read in history, doctor history, is that they were very heavy and unwieldy. And how did they keep those son-of-a-guns on when they're charging down a hill on a galloping horse?
Okay, I'm looking at a picture of this, that they have determined that this is Roman Nose.
Yeah.
According to the historical societies. And this thing is huge. I mean, it covers his whole head, obviously, and then all the way down his back, and I can't even, he's sitting down, and it looks like the headdress goes actually below his feet behind him on this chair.
Wow.
And long feathers, I'm guessing at least 18 to 20 inches long, all the way down his back.
Wow.
And this thing is huge.
Was that kind of a prerequisite to today's bridal gowns that the girls wear?
I don't know, but I'm thinking the same thing. How do you keep this thing on your head if you're riding a running horse and, I don't know.
Holy mackerel.
But, to me, it's just saying, here I am, shoot me.
Yeah, well, not only that, but they had to have some, stampede strings underneath the chin to keep it on, and wouldn't that almost hang them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and this picture's kind of an old picture, so I can't tell, but that makes sense that he would have something to help hold this on. This one looks a little strange. It almost looks like a woman's bonnet underneath that has had these other bird skins sewn onto it.
Yeah, but now, I dare you to go up to Roman Nose and tell him he's wearing a woman's bonnet. Go ahead.
At 6'4", I'm going to be saying yes, sir.
Looks like a real pretty bonnet you got there, Roman Nose.
and actually, the picture I'm looking at, his nose doesn't look that big. I'm looking at his head straight on. So.
Yeah, but neither did Jimmy Durante's at 5 miles away.
That's right. He looks fine.
Hey, man, you know what next Thursday means, don't you?
Let's see. The beginning of the rodeo.
Yeah, and also the beginning of Maple Bars with Bacon Day.
Right, and Friday night is my class reunion. We'll be sitting over in the southwest corner Friday night of the rodeo.
We'll look for the Wild Bunch.
Yeah, so we'll be sitting over there. The ones of us that can still climb the stairs.
There you go. Hey, I'm running late, but thanks, Dr. History. Okay. Excellent this morning. Thank you so much.
You have a good day, sir.
All right, God bless.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Dr. History, brought to you by the new CSI Sage Truck Driving School in Burley with our buddy Lucky Bourne. Call 878-5802. Ladies and gentlemen, our thanks go out also to our friends, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with all the tires you need for safe driving, and the best in brake service. I'm telling you what, they got the best brake value promise in the industry, professionally trained technicians, premium quality parts, over 30 years experience, best brake warranty. Oh yeah, all 7 locations, shocks and struts, front end alignments, batteries, it's all there for you, and these people really care. Stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Gina, thank you very much for all your help this morning, and
You're welcome.
We made it.
We did make it, and actually, if people want to see a picture of Roman Nose, they need to just go to your Facebook page. I found one.
You put old Roman Nose on the Facebook, huh?
I did. Roman Nose and his wife.
Yeah, probably they'll think, well, there's Evan Deanne!
I could put it as your profile.
Yeah, there you go.
I ought not.
Have a great day, my dear, and everybody have a great day. We'll be back here riding the horse again tomorrow morning at 8:06 till 11 on Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. The way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.